And it looks like we are going free. Live, perhaps, I hope. And I hope that everybody can hear me okay. I just had, pardon me, trying to get fired up now for this exciting time to be with you all. Looks like I see Traversing the Divide is here. Yes, it's a fantastic intro done by the great For Null. And thank you for speaking to it, because now I know that you all can hear me, and I assume see me as well. I have to see if I can get entropy up for you all right now. Let's see if I can make that happen, and we'll see if we'll get the thing to work, see how many people actually go on to entropy. There'll be a moment of, there we go. And I can go ahead and turn that up now that I have that figured out. Excuse me. So how's everybody doing on this Sunday evening, Monday morning, depending where you are on planet Earth? I'm going to be asking you all for your thoughts a little bit later on the coming decade, because it isn't just a clicking over of the hands for another year. It is something much larger. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for the white positive sphere? What do we have in our futures? The very real and present future for us. Excuse me. Brand Danger says, on a scale from 1 to 2, I am a 2. Wow, that's a great scale. But thank you. Hello, hello. Robert Brown is here. Honorian, Shauna, Daniel, Bigot Smalls, the great Polygon. A big thank you to Polygon for purchasing Go Free for Nick the other day, and including with that purchase some funds for the shipping. Marcus is here. The great Raymond is here. Glad to see you. Big hello to you and your lovely wife. So just coming off the heels of a fantastic show last night with the great Henrik and Lana of Red Ice fame. And if we could get a round of applause for these wonderful people, and Liv of whitedate.net. She just gave birth, Liv, to a brand new baby girl, and Lana and Henrik shared with us last night that they are pregnant. And I always feel weird saying about that. When did this start, saying that they are pregnant? But they are pregnant. And Lana will be giving birth to another child. There are others out there who have gotten pregnant this year in the white positive sphere. It has been just a magnificent year, 2019, hasn't it? We have births, brand new babies. We have pregnant ladies in the white positive sphere. So many accomplishments. And I guess maybe on the next Going Free, we will talk more about some of these just magnificent accomplishments that we have achieved over the course of 2019. And what did I say at the very beginning of 2019, at the end of 2018? I said 2019 will be the year that the first rays of the western sunrise crest that horizon. And indeed, that is exactly what has happened. We have made ourselves felt now across the entirety of the white positive sphere, beyond the white positive sphere as well, and have the anti-whites looking in. They're troubled, they're censoring, they don't know exactly what to do with us, because they know that undermining what we are doing here for white well-being is to shift the context in a way that benefits us. They can rename and say that all of these other endeavors in the white positive sphere mean something other than what they mean, but they can't say that about white well-being. The average white person will say, wait a second, I have a right to protect my children, I have a right to protect my family. And the anti-white is put, therefore, into a very precarious place when they decide to shift the context in such a way that it benefits us. So just a fantastic couple of actually last couple of weeks. So many things going on. I saw. Let me see. Who did I see? Southern Bloom is here. Zandrofen, great to see you as well. Kimberly Uga Buga is here. A lot of great people. Syntheside is here. Quebecois is here. We are going to be talking about a number of things today, one of which is extremely important for the women in our white positive sphere because they continue to fall prey. And I want to thank the woman who brought her victimization to my awareness. Recently, she was victimized. I won't be saying who she is. If she wants to say that it was her, then that's fine. I see Never Felt Guilty is here. Wonderful name. Great to see you. Who else do we see? Jesse is here. Marcus is here. Spencer's Thoughts is here. Rick is here. Great to see you. I mentioned Southern Bloom. Lion is here. Jennifer is here. Red Pill. Simon is here. Wonderful to see you all. Thomas. The great Roy Danton is here. Wonderful to see you as well, my dear friend. As is always the case, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to bring my attention to your comments or questions, if you are on the No White Guilt channel, please tag me as No White Guilt. If you just write Jason or NWG or put the little @ symbol with NWG, I am very unlikely to see it. I'm not being rude to you. The screens, I have numerous screens here. The text is moving on the screens, and when it isn't tagged, it doesn't light up orange for me, then it's very unlikely that I'm going to be able to see it. Now, if you are on the Gardening with NWG channel, you have to tag me as Gardening with NWG. That will light up over here to my left. And over here, I see Food Police is here. Great to see you. Outrageously Inoffensive. Great to see you. Corey is here. Art Maker is here. So if you want to get my attention on that channel, then tag me thus. And of course, if you decide to super chat, you can do so on YouTube at 33% entropy, at 15% entropy. Is up and running right now. If any of my moderators who are here could let me know if that's the case, if it's running properly. What else we have? We have Cash App. Of course, that's at 6%. The familiar alternative at 6% as well. Down in the description, you'll find both of those. And then finally, we have Ko-fi at, what is Ko-fi at? 15% as well as Entropy, which is also 15%. All of your super chats will be read. And even if I have to change the wording a little bit, if I miss any, then I will get back to your comments or questions that came in by way of super chat the next time we are together, which is going to be most likely this next coming Sunday, but who knows? Maybe I will have nothing to do over the course of this week, and I might check in with you all a little sooner. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So a big Merry Christmas, good Yule, and Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for being here in the White Positive Sphere in service to White Wellbeing. We are doing amazing things, and we're going to continue to do amazing things this coming year. Have you all purchased the fall winter edition of the White People's Quarterly? Tony now has the magazine available for you all. It is out. You can access it. Please purchase it. I tried, but I have yet been unsuccessful for some reason on that website. It is probably my fault, but if it is the fault of the website, then I'm sure we'll get it straightened out. The website that is actually printing the magazine. If you have purchased it on the website, please, and it's worked fine on this, whatever its name of it is, the website through which they're having the magazine printed, let me know in the live chat. So perhaps it's just something going on with my connection. But as soon as it works for me, I will have purchased my copy. So don't hesitate to get yours. This edition is supposed to be as, let me stop that for a moment. My apologies. We'll make sure if that happens again, we will make sure that that app is shut down. So Machiavellia Sucks is here. Great to see you. White Rider is here. Great to see you. I understand that this edition is going to be as magnificent as the previous. Red Eagle says, how would you rate yourself from 1 to 10 when it comes to fixing your car yourself? Well, I don't know on a scale of 1 to 10. but I'm definitely what is called here, at least in the South, a shade tree mechanic. I've done brakes, we've done suspension, we've done exhaust, we've replaced the head, the gaskets, timing belt, steering. So over the years, a lot of things. When you are working class, your cars are pretty much junk and you have to fix them. And so we did most things. One of the jobs that I saved the most money on, I did with my father, was the fuel pump went bad in my car, and we siphoned out the gasoline, took the gas tank off, took the gas tank apart. The part was about this long, and it had a little motor, and the motor was the actual pump part of it. And we broke that loose. We contacted Ford. They sold us the part. I can't remember. It was like $12, $17 or something. They shipped it out to us. My father soldered it in. We put the part back in the gas tank. We put the gas tank back together. We put the gas tank back in the car, and we were off and rolled, I don't know, under $20. And I think the estimates, when I called around and asked, the estimates were like $1,200 for the repair and the part. So, but I'm definitely not a professional mechanic, far from it. There's plenty I can do on vehicles, but I would not rate myself anywhere near a professional mechanic. Lion Lives says, I started a political commentary channel and could use a shout out. Any help is appreciated. Well, everybody, going over and see Lion Lives, political commentary channel. Lion, why don't you, are we connected on Twitter? If so, DM me the name of it, or just write the name out, but DM me the actual link and I will drop the link in the live chat. How does that sound? Let's see. Jay Easom says, hi, I'm trying to listen while at Christmas shopping. I need to buy some cardinals. Well, mine aren't for sale, but I'm sure you'll find some lovely cardinals wherever you are. Jennifer P says hello. Itultu says hello. Great to see you, brother. Okay. What else do we have? Yeah, so if you were able to purchase the magazine, if you've had a look at it, let us know in the live chat. I wish I had one, or wish I had one on the way. I hope to by later today or tomorrow. The White People's Quarterly, the fall-winter edition, is supposed to be every bit as magnificent, filled with artistic works, poetry, paint, I think drawing. What else was in there? They told me. Really magnificent stuff. So I'm looking forward to receiving it. Again, another beautifully done work that you can put out on the coffee table so that when folks come over, they can see this. It can be something you can be proud about. So a big salute to Tony and everybody over there working on that project. Thank you for your service to White Wellbeing. We're not going to be able to do it today because I simply did not have the time to get to both of these. But the great Roy Danton, who is here today. Oh, and I see Underhill is here. Great to see you, good sir. The great Roy Danton got into a conversation, as you all should be doing. You should be exercising these muscles of going free. So you learn these things, you read Go Free. We talk about these things here, and then you are admonished in Go Free to get out into, if you can nowhere else, in these forums, on threads, live chats, etc., and practice your MCs, practice your arguments, the lexicon and dialectics that you learn in Go Free, and take these sort of into the oratorical battle. That is what you need to be able to do to hone your skills so that when you are out other places, you just become increasingly effective at bringing your friends, family, and strangers over to the cause of serving white well-being. Roy is dedicated. Roy is a real player in this game. And this is the way we should all be. And there are many others. There are a great many others who are exercising these newfound skills. It doesn't do you any good in fact, to just read about something and then put it down and not study it and not apply it. It is in the application that you actually learn how to use it. So you make a study of it and you apply, and then you go back back to the instructions, if you will, see where you could have done better, think about the particular situation you found yourself in. That's obviously what Roy is doing. And he sent me this information. It was a great debate of sorts that he ended up having with an anti-white who was live streaming. Roy engaged him from the live feed, and this guy just ended up speaking to the things that Roy was saying. So there's nothing to prevent you from getting out there and even engaging someone who is the live streamer, him or herself. If you can goad them into answering the things that you're saying, having a conversation with you, you will have a hell of a good time, for one thing, but you will also be improving your skills at articulating these arguments and making the case of going free, standing up for our people's well-being. And all of you, I mean, you come back, let me just say this for everybody, Roy, everybody out there, everybody who writes me, the first times they come back to me and they say, oh, I had this conversation, they always say, well, I didn't do as good as I could have done. You know, now I think back, and that is everyone. It's not just you. Don't feel like you have somehow failed. That is what practice is all about. That's why you do this. I mean, in fact, I recommend, for several reasons, there's psychological reasons, I recommend creating a new nom de plume or nom de guerre to go into the conflict with, so that you can be completely unrestrained in exercising these new tools that you have learned. If you want to use the current one that you have, the name you're using online, so be it. But you might be held back a little bit by thinking that, well, I'm going to be carrying these earlier failures with me under the name I'm using. So if you come up with a new name to use in these conversations online, then you don't have to worry about the baggage of all of those times at bat when you struck out again and again and again. But if you don't mind, like I don't mind, I know that I'm never wrong in the sense that people talk about it today. It's only an opportunity that I've had to learn. That's how I try to view. I think I was freshman in high school when I realized this, and I wish I had adults teach me this when I was a child. I would have been so much further along. But I suddenly realized that I should never view a loss or a failure as either of those things. They were just opportunities to learn. I either get the answer right or I learn. I either lose in competition or I learn. There is no failing. There is no losing. There's just improving for the next time. And so that's Roy. That's how you should view your interaction. So next, and all of you, probably next time we get together or next Sunday, I'm going to talk about Roy's discussion that he had with this person, this anti-white online, who used the typical anti-white snarky tactics that are very easily defeated, more so, I think, by your posturing, because that's all they're really doing, is they're posturing. I find that most of the time online, you make your powerful argument from go free, and then the anti-white will just posture a certain way. It might be in like this snarky, derisive, I'm going to laugh at you sort of a posture. There isn't an argument back for that. There's just a posturing back and then pointing back at your argument. That will, for onlookers, and this is the other thing you need to remember, your victory is not in the head of the anti-white, the person you're debating in that scenario. Your victory is in those who are witnessing that exchange. The anti-white is irrelevant at that point. They're just a foil for you to help others to go free. So don't walk away, and this happens far too often. Folks walk away from those interactions feeling like they've somehow lost the conversation because the anti-white didn't, slump his or her shoulders and hang his or her head and walk away. That's rarely going to happen. No, if anything, they're going to try to beam that much prouder because they're trying to cover up. It's an obvious, and if you learn to see that they are merely just trying to cover up what is clearly their defeat, then you'll know your victory for what it is. So when they puff themselves up, like a cat or a bird when it's getting ready for conflict, and puff themselves up as big as they can, then aha, I've won. I've gotten under this person's skin. I have defeated their anti-white argument. And so now there's just this posturing so that they can try to walk away as something other than the loser that they are. But rest assured that the vagues out there, the other folks out there, people watching are going to clearly see that, wait, you just won that conversation. The anti-white there is just posturing. It's meaningless. But so there's Roy Danton's conversation next week. And then there's also another gentleman who I hope is watching tonight, but who sent me a similar conversation months and months ago. And I printed it out, and I've wanted to talk about the exchange because it's absolutely a brilliant exchange. And so I want to share it with you all as well. Won't be revealing even his nom de guerre, but we'll be sharing that exchange because it's instructive. It's illustrative for all of you to learn from the attempts of others. It's like when you use a sporting example again, you use the guy who goes up to bat in baseball and he swings and misses the ball. You can look at his form, you can look at whatever he did wrong, and you can learn from that, or whatever he could have improved upon. You can learn from that. So we're going to be doing the same thing, but we are going to be talking about quite a few conversations that did take place, and I will be addressing the ways that you can handle such interactions moving forward, because I want you all to always be the winners in these contests, certainly during these holidays when you get together with friends and family. So we'll be talking about that next time. I want to thank Shauna, Danny, and Dan for reaching out to me for No White Guilt leaflets so that they can distribute those in perfectly lawful areas in their communities. As you all remember, John printed up at his own expense 10,000 of these leaflets, No White Guilt leaflets, and shipped them to me at his expense. I'm shipping them out to any of you who would like to distribute these leaflets in your communities or a community near you where it's perfectly legal to do so and safe. So big thank you to those individuals who reached out for those leaflets. We hope to see some more of what we have seen here in 2018 up in, Illinois, and what was the other one? Indiana or something, where No White Guilt leaflets were distributed before John even stepped up to the plate and using another baseball analogy and purchased these leaflets and spliced them as well. So thank you all as well. Let's do a couple of frivolities really quickly. Let's see, just for fun. So this can be something a little bit more than, I think this is it. And then I'm going to show you a Christmas picture. So I will show you this automotive, very short video, and then we will look at a Christmas picture I took last year.
Connected to the internet all around town at high level speeds, access to hotspots.
So if you work for law enforcement and you were looking at the speedometer, I'll say that wasn't me. But if you're not, then so be it. You can interpret it any way you like. Let's take a quick look at this Christmas picture. I'll put it up as I take a look at this house. Is that not magnificent? How beautifully done is that? I'm not one for the garish Christmas decorations, especially when they get to the many thousands of light bulbs. But this is not garish whatsoever. This is quite lovely, very clean, classy. The house, of course, is certainly not the one I live in. Quite a bit more expensive. Roy Danton has a question here, or a statement over on Gardening Channel. It says, most confusing is when they ask for solutions. Pause like 20 seconds, and then they say, see, you don't have any, as if you could answer in that short time frame. Well, yeah, example. That's a perfect example, Roy. That is one of the things that I have dealt with anti-whites doing all the time. When they demand an answer from you, though, or a solution from you, The proper response is to demand an answer or solution from them. I've told them before, you know, anti-whites will say, and then we'll click off of this lovely house here that I had to get a photo of and share with you all today. The anti-whites have said to me before, go find me your evidence that says or proves X, Y, or Z. Now, some of you have probably heard anti-whites. They've done the same thing to you, or you've seen it do the same thing to others. The onus is upon them, not upon us. We don't have to prove what is visibly obvious in the world around us. They have to prove what is invisible is there. So when the anti-white says that all of the races are identical, they are all the same, and then they say, prove to me that they're not. Go out and show me your evidence that they're not. You tell them to not tell you to do a damn thing, that the onus is upon them, and that you will continue the conversation with them when they return with all of the evidence that proves that all of the races are identical. Guess what has never happened in all of my life, having demanded that from anti-whites, who knows, uncountable times it seems like. Not once have they ever come back with the evidence that proves that all the races are the same. Of course, because there is no evidence for that. It is a religious faith. So there's nothing they're going to bring back to you. So don't allow them to demand anything of you in a conversation, in a debate, whatever it might be. You are demanding from them. You immediately turn around and you put the burden on them to prove their positions. It's one of the reasons why I never engaged in this very stupid ethno-state conversations. This was just a figment of the imagination. The context we are in, it's like saying, it's the equivalent of saying, let's talk about life on the Death Star, or, how are we going to build the moon made out of metal that we will travel the universe in? I mean, it's asinine. So what you end up in is literally these people who are supposedly adults, and very often they can be very well educated and otherwise have elevated IQs. And yet you will hear two different folks debating or arguing about fantasies in their heads, as though they could actually compare the fantasies between guy A and guy B. They could actually somehow juxtaposition them and say, it's just not possible. So I never engaged in that because it is just stupid. Let's see. Zero Talent is here. Great to see you, brother. Looks like that was a closed race course to me. Well, if you want to believe it was a closed race course, then that works, especially for law enforcement. That video in particular, that bit of video footage that I cut off at 1:10 is at the beginning of 2 years ago on my way to Ameren conference. And you can find that video for now still on my YouTube channel, No White Guilt. I say for now because YouTube has been doing, I know you all are going to be shocked about this. It's just absolutely so unlike the anti-white walruses over at that company. Very wealthy walruses, I might add. But they've been going and deleting my videos and not notifying me that they have deleted my videos. I just go back through all of my videos and then find one after the other deleted. Nothing from YouTube in any of my folders saying, well, we've deleted this video because of X, Y, or Z. So the most recent one I found deleted without notifying me at all, which is something that YouTube used to do in the past, is notify you that your video is in violation, or perhaps they still do to others, but not at least to me. And I guess I'm special in that way. Special probably in some other short bus kind of a ways, but they deleted Murder on a Commercial, and they said it was for, excuse me, when I actually pulled it up, the reasoning they gave for it on YouTube, it was for hate speech. And of course, my Murder on a Commercial video was, all I did was I took all of these different commercials. A woman that I knew said, well, I do see that they do seem on TV to pair a lot of non-whites with white people. And I said, yeah, they really do, more than you know. Will you accept the challenge that I'm about to give you? And the challenge was to watch television for a day and write down all of the commercials. She's a TV watcher. So this was going to be someone who's going to be sitting down in front of the TV for the course of a day. And I can't remember the exact number. I think I ended up with 20 some commercials that were promoting white erasure. So white person with a non-white mate. And and she found even more than that, or she named more than that, wrote down, but I just couldn't find them online. And so I put them all together in a video to show people just the shocked look, for God's sakes, what the anti-whites are doing. They're promoting white erasure. And that's what it is, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Don't look up and use the word miscegenation with vagues out there in the world. Just say it's white erasure. These pairing of white with non-white. They're not going to know what the word miscegenation means, or to miscegenate, or any of these other terms. I know there are uglier terms, sterner words, but the important thing about the promotion of these unions is that it results in biological white erasure. So why are they promoting biological white erasure? Why are they promoting white erasure? You make the anti-white or the vague say that, oh, it's okay. It's perfectly okay to erase a people from existence. Put them in that position, and they will have a very hard time arguing their way out of it. So what else do we have here? I know I saw some other notes go by. If somebody could, please, just to see if it works still. I don't know if it's working anymore. If somebody could, please, $1 on the familiar alternative super chat. You could write 3 paragraphs if you want. I'll read them all. If you just will send $1, just want to make sure that it's still working, because nothing has come in there for quite a little while. And I'm curious. I'm always curious, because the anti-whites are always at work. Let's see. I think I see the great Poseidon is here. Everyone, my good brother Poseidon is here from across the Atlantic. And if you do not follow Poseidon over on D Live on YouTube, please do so at your first convenience. He puts on a magnificent show, shares a lot of news that you need to hear, things that are going on in the world. He puts a very entertaining, I guess, an entertaining, how shall I say, accent to all of these stories, no matter how bad they might be. Poseidon knows exactly how to deliver it in a way that it will be entertaining and empowering. So thank you very much for being here. And thank you very much for your service to White Wellbeing, my dear brother. Final Blossom is here. Writing, I just purchased volume 2 of the White People's Quarterly, so the site seems to be working. Well, thank you very much for that input, my dear brother. Final Blossom, ladies and gentlemen, last week, and we need to be talking about this for a couple weeks, really made a testimony about his belief in the success of going free, the doctrine that we have here, Lexicon and Dialectics of Going Free, by super chatting $1,000. Now, Final Blossom isn't Mr. Pie. Final Blossom doesn't have thousands of dollars to just throw around the community. Like Roy Danton, another working class person, giving and giving and giving all of the time. These people are going without things to be able to contribute to something that they think is this important. So for you watching now, whether live, and I welcome all of you who are brand new. I see so many new names of people who have recently subscribed to my channels and the work that I'm doing. So a big welcome to all of you watching live and in replay, wherever you are in the world. You are part of our community if you just want to be so. If you want to go free, you are one of us. You are one of the participants. And I ask you, how much would an idea, a cause, how much value, how much proof would it have to provide to you that it is the absolute successful route for the recovery of our destiny? How much value would have to be there for you to say you are going to give up $1,000, that you were going to put up $500, as some of these wonderful people have done? it's going to be a great deal of faith. It's going to be a great deal of belief. It's going to have been a result of seeing these things come to the fruition that we say that they will lead you to. That is the only way a normal working class person is going to part with that kind of money. And so that is when people like Roy Danton, when people like Final Blossom, when people like, I remember Edgar Allan Poe's super chat months ago, when they super chat these enormous sums for working class people, it's not just the money that is relevant there. What's relevant is that they know in their hearts that what we're doing here, changing lives, bringing life into being, as a matter of fact, getting people off of the path to suicide, giving people a reason to live, we've heard, keeping people out of jail, we have learned, getting people off of alcohol and drugs, we have learned. They have seen this working and they wanted to reach more people. So they are shouting with all of their ability to shout to the world with their words and with those super chats. This works. If you want salvation, if you want to be redeemed, if you want to recapture our destiny, it's not going to be found in violence. It's not going to be found in the craven retreat to the hills. It's not going to be found in voting and just harassing the Republican Party. It's not going to be found in any of these old forms. It's not going to be found in just a monotonous, tired recitation of facts. It is going to be found in going free. Lives are changing, and that's what these folks are saying when they write what they have to write, and then they attach a sum of money that, ladies and gentlemen, is painful. I mean, come on, we're talking about auto payments. We're talking about mortgage. We're talking about events that people could be going to, music events, concerts, all of these things, these frivolities that we fill our lives with, that we hope will fill the black holes in our heart, and it never does. So these people are stepping up to the plate. The least you can do is hear them out. The least you can do is say, wow, if somebody is willing to contribute this much, then there probably is something there. There's probably something worth listening to. Not just another lark, not just another laugh, not just another goddamn meme, not just another frivolous nothing, but something substantive, tangible that is going to sustain us for the very difficult months and years that are ahead of us. A little green frog or a stupid name or whatever it is, that's not going to save you. It can be fun for now, but that's not going to be what reclaims us. And we are seeing all around us, indeed, with the censoring of White Art Collective and Jack White, and in the middle of the streams, we have the streams getting shut down, high-risk streams. We are seeing that the anti-whites are finally vindicating me, or rather, they're vindicating me by their actions. I have been arguing now for 15 years in the white positive sphere that the most powerful thing we can do is build community. And occasionally there would be others who would join me in that argument. People like Alex, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, in the UK. He joined me in that argument many years ago, and for a while, that the most powerful thing we can do is build community. And then what are the elements of community? Things like, most importantly, for the kind of community that we need to have in a world that is replete with anti-white poison, we need a psychology that is going to cleanse us of these infections and defend us against them moving forward. And then all of the other elements of community need to be incorporated. And a big chunk of that is art. The anti-whites see that. So that's why people like Zurius, no words in his work, not a single word, and the songs deleted, the channels deleted for hate speech. All of these other artists now, tiny channels deleted. And the reason why they're deleted is because the anti-whites know the power of, it's not just the anti-white, don't confuse, this is not a case of some blue-haired anti-white at YouTube deciding that, oh, this is offending me, I think I'll just click this channel off. No, when they move against channels like that with such tiny audiences relative to the broader population, when they move against that, those are officials stepping in. Those are people working for anti-white elites stepping in, and they're saying, that right there is dangerous. Get rid of that. That's what you're seeing. So for all the, just imagine where we would be today if 15 years ago, all of these assholes that argued with me that no, it's got to be a political approach. No, it's got to be facts, and we just got to talk about the facts all day. Let's show all the data, endlessly data at people. No, it's got to be all that. No, not really. I don't think your community idea is really going to do anything, or really accomplish anything. What if those assholes, instead of arguing against me, had accepted that community was the most powerful thing that we could build and gotten on board? Where would we be today? How much better would your life be today if we had been building community 15 years ago? Instead of this garbage, these comic books and the other stuff they used to push and still push. More religious squabbles, more idiotic comics, more recitations of facts, more hyper focus on politics, as though you have a chance in hell at starting anything political that will be successful. Focus on lawsuits, for Christ's sake. With the entities in this country and around the Western world that have money to the tunes of hundreds of millions, and then today, even as well as then 15 years ago, talk of secession, talk of shutting out the literal secession, not abjuring the realm secession, literal secession. Where would we be today? It took finally having to come to this. Nobody willing to listen. Everybody mired in the asininity of the past. It took me starting this channel, starting all of this, reaching out to the good people, roping them in, the people who were able to see because they had eyes to see, ears to hear, to finally get some momentum going. All of these folks. And where are they now? My phone's not ringing. Why isn't my phone ringing? All of you assholes from back then should be blowing my phone up with apologies. And you should be coming here. There are still senescent old men, absolutely impotent losers, who continue to give money to political endeavors in the white positive sphere. I shit you not. And they can't be talked out of it. How much more evidence do they need? They're still going to be showing up. I guarantee you this. These old fools are still going to be showing up when we have actual, not just what we have today, but when we have living communities dotted across the entirety of the West. These nearsighted, flaccid, absolutely feckless idiots are still going to be giving money to political endeavors. I promise. It just pisses me off, ladies and gentlemen, because my goal is the well-being of our people. That's what my goal is. I don't have any, there is, as you all can plainly see, there's no desire for me for personal aggrandizement. So when I argued with these idiots, it was to save our people. And time and again, they argued against me as though they knew better. They knew so much more. They were just going to stick with the old ways that have failed time and again and again and again. They knew better, all right. So it angers me because there are white children who are growing up in hell today because we didn't start building community 15 years ago. Instead, it was more politics, more facts, more. No, we can't have. No, don't come and talk about community. No, that's not gonna cut it. We're gonna talk about more facts. Let us share some more data about the other groups. All right, so let's have I'll check your messages really quick, and then we'll see. We'll have a quick reading and go free. I have a question here about what do I really drive? It is a Neon SRT4 turbo for the time being until it's dead. Zero Talon, thank you very much. Super chatted $1 over on the Familiar Alternative, proving that it is indeed working. After you removed from here, I took your lead and got onto 2 other payment platforms in response. Thank you very much, dear friend, and thank you for coming through with that super chat so I could confirm that the Familiar Alternative is still working. Question Everything is here. Great to see you, brother. All right. Ooga Booga writes, hope you had a high quality RDD immune radar. Oh, yes. Well, cloaked radar is always a requirement. If you let's see, Agatha is here. Merry Christmas and great to see you. Boy, I haven't seen you in a while, and that's a way to welcome you back. Me getting pissed off about all of these idiots from the past who still not calling, phones not ringing. All those idiots that are not calling to apologize for how wrong they were back then. But welcome, Agatha. Great to see you. Marsha's here. Great to see you. All right, Fred, what about the Lamborghini Gallardo you posted on Instagram? Sorry for being late. Yeah, I will post that on one of these streams. I did drive the Lamborghini Gallardo on a racetrack, and that was a marvelous experience. Seth asks about my videos getting removed. They are removed on gardening channel. I remove them from that channel because duplicate videos are a strikeable offense, but you can and will be able to find them, these streams, on No White Guilt channel on YouTube. And if it is difficult, it doesn't come up in your country, because I'm still hearing that some people are having an issue. Then you can try switching your location on YouTube to see if you can see the videos, or you can use a VPN. But one way that will absolutely work is to go to the afterparty.tv, and eventually all of these will be up on that website. That's the joint website I have with Jared George. Ryan says, could finally afford to super chat again. Sorry, I've been gone. Great to see you again, brother. You don't have to leave. You can stick with us, whether you can super chat or not. Great to have you back. All right, let's move on. I will check quickly over here. Let me see, is this working? Ah, yes. Okay, we will light this up. Yeah, I was mentioning Alex there. I don't even know. He has kind of separated from the white positive sphere, and I don't know that he would even want me to say his name anyhow. So if he's watching or does watch, then he's potentially breathing a sigh of relief. Royce is asking over here on gardening, did I get this right, that you'll make a tap with Jared George tomorrow? We're going to be doing an after hours tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe it is, after hours. And we're going to be talking with the folks who were censored recently off of YouTube and some other platforms, I believe. Ryan says he's been watching. Fantastic. All right. And looks like we are good here. We're going to keep rolling right along. Oh, over on Cash App, we have Ryan super chatting $5. Thank you very much, Ryan. Is it a bad idea to go to the Virginia Second Amendment rally in January? A bad idea? I don't know much about it at the moment. I don't know where, if you could fill us in, where is it taking place? And thank you very much, Ryan. Where is it taking place? And what are your concerns about it? I don't think in general it's a bad idea, but what are your specific fears? Just tag me. Don't super chat again. Just tag me and I will speak to those as best I can. All right. So where are we here? Going free. Let's take a quick look, and we're going to be reading on page 71 briefly in the second edition of Go Free, if you have your copy handy. And just page and a quarter. This is the world beyond the vague. The word vague is used here as a noun rather than an adjective to describe a type of person. Like the adjectival form of the word vague, the meanings unclear, confused, and wavering also apply to the noun form a vague. There are two types of vagues. The first are those who have not come into contact with anti-whiteism, as might be found in rural China. The second are those who are not firmly anti-white, but who speak right and act, which is villainy signaling, in ways that conform to the anti-white narrative. The second type of vagues are commonly referred to as normies, lemmings, NPCs, sheeple. By way of their submission to the anti-white narrative, they constitute a subversive force to Western kind and Western civilization. However, they have little to no understanding of the regime and its anti-white objectives. As the second category of vagues are passively complicit in the spread, legitimization, and enforcement of anti-whiteism, they are often suspicious of those of us going free. They fear or lack the ability to break from the herd. Now, how many of you have experienced speaking to a vague and had them appear suspicious, had them appear doubtful, had them think that things you were saying were dubious? I'm sure all of you, if you've tried having these discussions with people, vague is the term that I most often use when describing the average person out there. It's no insult to be a vague. It's to be confused. But it is nonetheless to be a threat to white well-being. And so we need to categorize vagues where they belong. They are very likely to be someone that you can help to go free. Upon investigation, discussion with them, you might find that they are not. And in fact, they're vagues. They're not entirely anti-white or hardcore anti-white, but they just simply cannot be reached. They are too wedded to following the herd. And so you would have to spend too much time, too much effort, and maybe never, ever help them to go free. So in those cases, as you know, we just move on. When you hear me say vague, this is what I'm talking about, this kind of person. Now, there's a difference between a vague who villainy signals something anti-white and a true anti-white, dyed in the wool anti-white, if you will. The true anti-white is absolutely relishing the harm that's being inflicted on Western kind and Western civilization, whereas the vague might villainy signal that he or she is okay with it, conforms to the anti-white narrative, but you can tell that they're not exactly energetic or ecstatic about the harm that is being inflicted, the changes that are being inflicted on our civilization, imposed on our families, our people, our children. That's the real difference. So it's the vagues are the ones that you want to try to help go free. The vagues are the ones that you first are trying to find out whether or not they are capable of, remember we talked about buying the product or not. If they will never buy the product, that is the most important thing you can find out. Move on to the next vague. So that is what a vague is. I've had some questions about that. And now we know that when it comes to going free, it is an inoffensive term that we can use for those who have yet to be welcomed to the service of White Wellbeing, welcome to our rapidly growing family, going free, and therefore become participants in this grand and glorious effort to recapture our destiny. All right, now I want to thank all of the women. Actually, I'm gonna switch the fan on so that we can bring some cool air in here. One moment. It's definitely warming up with all of these computers going, and there we go. That's a bit nicer. You know, you don't want the computers to overheat, but you don't want the people to overheat either, right? All right, looks like we're good. I see Will over there. Mother, I'm not going to say the rest of your name over on gardening. Great to see you. All right, make sure we have no other questions or comments. Remember, tag me, folks, and I want to help you go free. I want to help you help those around you go free. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to thank all of the women who reached out to me after last week's show. Absolutely amazing. I had no idea that, I mean, we had a couple guys, you know, this is at last week's show. I chastised, what's her name? Sydney Watson. I chastised her for nearing the wall and saying, oh, there's no good, she wants to get married, and I'm told, now if any of this is incorrect about Miss Watson, I will happily be corrected. This is information that's been given to me. I haven't researched her. So that's information that's been given to me. So it could be a caricature of her. That's what we're speaking to, because that caricature, if it doesn't represent who she truly is, represents too many of our young women who are harming themselves with the behavior I talked about last week. This behavior of thinking that they are little princesses, that they deserve the prettiest men in their circles, and then giving themselves over and over and over and over. They call it riding the carousel to the prettiest men, and then finally, and then complaining the whole time that there aren't any good men out there. And then as they approach the wall, they decide, well, suddenly they'll look at the guys that are on par with them for looks. And now they have changed quite a bit. And so it is a ruinous thing that is happening for our people. So I chastised either the actual Sydney or a caricature of Sydney. And I'm open to being corrected on this young lady. But I was very surprised. I thought that I was going to receive a raft of just hateful messages from these women who have lived this life or who are in the midst of living this life, and they just want to. And also, dating is a very personal thing, and everybody, you know, it just touches a nerve. So this is what I expected. There was going to be this backlash. Instead, it was the reverse. What's the reverse of a backlash? Chest lash? Whatever it is. I had just a couple of guys write me that objected, like seriously, like two. And then less than a handful of women, less than 5 women complain. And most of actually not even unprofessional. Some of it unprofessional, but most of it not. But instead, I received this absolute raft, this I won't call it a deluge, but all of these messages. I didn't think I would get any from women saying, of course there were guys. I expected guys would say, yeah, you know, so many, you got 80%, 90% of the guys who are waiting in their basements to finally, you know, for the woman to get old enough to finally look at him. Of course, they were going to write me and say, right on, thank you for speaking up. But I had no idea that so many women were going to write. So bless you all. Thank you. I mean, it was so many good women in the white positive sphere, specifically in service to white well-being, that say, yeah, it's something that's difficult. It's a difficult thing for us ladies to look square at in the face. It's happening, though. We admit to it. And thank you for speaking out to it. We recognize, and this is the really important thing, they recognize that my biggest concern is for the well-being of our people. I'm not trying to get all the guys in the basements a bed partner, for the night. I don't know who they are. I have no interest in that. My interest is for the well-being of our people. And so being concerned with the well-being of our people, my interest is in the well-being of these young ladies who are making these disastrous decisions. These young men who end up, as a consequence of these disastrous decisions, are making the disastrous decisions to head into the basement and to embrace MGTOW and these other phenomena out there. God bless you all. Thank you all so much. Every lady out there that wrote me and they said they saw what it was doing to society. They recognized that women were actually doing this. I mean, this idea, this gaslighting that in other spheres so many women do. Apparently, it doesn't really happen here anymore. God bless every one of you. It's amazing. But this gaslighting where they'll say, "Oh, that's not happening anywhere," and then they go out. They go out and you hear the conversations these exact same people have, and they're like, well, they're hyper focused on that really pretty guy, but it's not happening. It's not happening. We could see all of the row of guys standing up against the wall whose faces aren't that pretty, but and they don't get a dance. But so the gaslighting, everything. The other women who wrote me who said they lived the virtuous life. They did the right thing. They didn't get on the carousel of pretty men. And they were disparaged for it. Their female friends disparaged them, actually. And so they were grateful that someone like myself was willing to speak out against it. So thank you deeply to every one of you who reached out in support of that argument that I had to make. And we all should make this argument. Whenever a woman, anywhere, but certainly in the white positive sphere, in any way, shape, or form, she considers herself trad, if she considers herself a nationalist, if she considers herself a conservative, if she considers herself any of these things, and if she is speaking with this forked tongue to all of us, if she says, and by the way, there are obviously exceptions to the rule. I talked about that on the last Sunday. There are going to be wonderful women who went out into the world, tried to find interviewing men on their level, par with them, trying to find a good man, and just by quirk of fate, they did not find him, and they end up older, or they end up not going married. Not everyone has to get married, and it didn't work out for them. So there are going to be those women. Having said that, we all acknowledge that they are the exception, and we will recognize them as the exception. But at the same time, when we hear these women who are saying there aren't any good men out there, and then they're hyper-focused on the prettiest men that they can find, we should be calling them out on that. We need to address this behavior, because the choices of the young women is the fulcrum for who gets to have sex, who gets to be in a marriage, when families are started. It's the woman who decides, not the men. I had somebody write me and say that one of the people objecting said, well, no, it's the man who walks up. It's the man who asks you out. So I essentially said to her, what man have you intentionally ignored that you then gave your phone number to? And what does your therapist have to say about that? Because such a person would need a therapist. No, women are not giving their names and numbers out to men who they are intentionally ignoring. So the starting pistol for the race is the woman giving some sort of sign. Yes, there are exceptions, once again, where a man, you could have a couple scenarios where a man approaches a woman. She hasn't seen him yet, but once he approaches her, she says, wow, I think he's good looking enough to speak to. Much rarer is there going to be a scenario where the man walks up, introduces himself, she hasn't seen him, to ignore him, and by just how dazzled she is by his personality. I mean, how often do you see a stunning woman with a hideous guy who isn't rich, and then find out that they got married, when she was 35, 40 years old? How often does that happen? Never. It's so rare. We can say never. You will be able to find examples of it here and there, but come on, we have to talk about This is the anti-whites are the ones who focus on the exceptions and then draw rules for society. You focus on the broad norm and you draw rules for society, and then you give allowance for the exceptions. That is how it actually works, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you have a successful society. So the woman is the one that is the starting pistol. She gives some sort, in almost all cases, she gives some sort of signal. The guy sees the signal. It could be a little smile. It could be whatever. He comes over then, and that's how the conversation gets started. That's how they get off to the races. So thank you all. But we had some comments come in that I want to make sure to read. And I think we saw a super chat come in. We did. From Alt Fit, 50 pounds. Thank you so much, dear friend. 50 pounds from Alt Fit today. Super chatting over here on YouTube and writing Merry Christmas. I think it's going to be a white one. I think it's going to be a white one as well. We're going to do our damnedest to make sure one way or another. Thank you very much for that. Jesse writes, Jason, I'm halfway through Born Guilty, which I received a week ago, and it is fantastic. Thank you so much, Jesse. You are a very talented writer, and I plan to share this book with a friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service to White Wellbeing. It's very meaningful that you would share that testimony with us. It's a big book, so if you're already halfway through it, you are a speedy reader and says a lot. So thank you so much. Remember, folks, that I am keeping Born Guilty at the special price, which is reduced by almost 50% all the way up through the last day of December. So if you were thinking about getting it from Amazon, that is, if you were thinking about getting it, now's the time to get it. If you want it with a signature, you have to go to my store, nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com, to get it from there, and I will happily sign it. So thank you very much for those kind words. Big thank you again to Alt Fit for 50 pounds. Let's get a round of applause for that, because the pound is a stronger currency than we have here in the U.S. So thank you very much. JC writing, No White Guilt. Jason, in Islamic culture, they have arranged marriages. So every Muslim is provided with a wife, no matter his looks. This is why the Muslim population is exploding, all caps, all over the world. Well, yes, and they value large families as well. There are certainly whiter religions and whiter divisions of those religions that also value having large families, and they do have large white families. Unfortunately, they're not teaching them to go free. They're teaching them to be little anti-white bastards. But we can absolutely produce big families. There isn't this idea that we need to have arranged marriages. No, we want, if we come to a scenario where it's life or death, we'll do whatever has to be done for life. All right. But what we want, if we have our druthers, if I have my druthers, I want our young women making the right decision. That means they have to be provided with the right information. They have to be provided with a choice to do what's right or what's wrong. And I want them to be provided with that information so they make the choice to go out into the world, find a man who is par with them, or men who's par with them on looks, and then interview those men for marriage and potential. They don't have to do that. Maybe they're going to be one of those people that just can't get married, and they're going to do something epic for our people. Lord, I hope so. That would be magnificent. But the majority of them need to, and some of them can be even like Phyllis Schlafly, raise wonderful families and then do more than most women could do in 100 lifetimes. So we want them to be provided with the choice. That means they need the right information, and then for them to make the proper choice. One of the things that really, I think, well, I can phrase it this way. I can't even fathom a person who, I can't fathom what could go through someone's head who could commit a rape, because I want to be wanted. I don't want to have, I can't imagine how a man or a woman committing rape, it happens both ways. It is more often, obviously by far, men raping women than women raping men, but it does happen both ways. But I can't imagine having sex with somebody who doesn't want to have sex with you. That's nuts. So I would much rather have women choosing our men than being forced to choose, or being forced to take, rather, not choose. And that essentially is what happens with arranged marriages. They get no choice. I mean, they may be able to quibble a little bit with their parents about, please take this into consideration, but ultimately they don't really have a choice. So I want them to be able, and I want the young men out there to be chosen. I want the women to want them. I don't want them to be forced together because there's a gun at their back. There's enough forcing going on with anti-whiteism. Let's provide people with the truth about how they're going to lead a healthy, happy, productive life for themselves, therefore for their families, their mates, therefore for their children, ergo their communities, happiness and strength, and the totality of Western kind and Western civilization as a result. We've got to start with the right ingredients if we're going to have a recipe that turns out with something that is worthy of putting on the table. So we have, I'll get to some more of your statements and or super chats as I start to pick through some of these. Looks like Bobby writes, I watched a few MGTOW, and this is in response to the show last week. I watched a few MGTOW videos back in 2015, he writes. Coming back to them 4 years later, I can see their numbers have tripled in growth. Tripled in growth. That is happening indeed, and it is directly correlated with the men finally saying, we're not going to take it anymore, these young men. We're not just going to sit in a basement and then take the leftovers anymore. Once the woman hits the wall, they're going to get mad and they're going to join these groups and they're going to speak out about it. And it is a hammer that is developing within the body of our people because of the choices of young women. That's why that exists. And we are going to have to make a Herculean effort to reach these young men before they end up getting used by anti-whites against us and this civilization. Because rest assured, there's a lot of angry, frustrated energy there. And they are not the cause of that anger and frustration. They are the victims. So for anybody out there who would slander these people and mock them as incels or whatever else it is, you are bastards. That's just like mocking a rape victim. That's just like mocking a battered wife. These people, these young men are suffering true psychological damage because of the choices of these young women. So that's why these entities have come into being. That's why they're growing so rapidly. And that's something that we really have to arrest and vector into something that is healthy for them before it's too late. So thank you so much for that, Bobby, that observation. Insane Hermit writes, I think Sydney Weston's tweet was not uniquely bad, but a launching point for speaking about the media, the many media-led problems of today's women, and specifically white women, since this is a white well-being channel. I could tell by the chat responses that this was a great relief to many white men. It was vaguely percolating in their subconsciousness all this time. We are a truth movement. Constructive criticism is important. By the way, the women here and all far-right women are fantastic. And it's not so much aimed at them, mostly aimed at the other 95%. Very well written. I agree totally, brother. And that's the thing. Well, it's aimed at all of you, all of us, in the sense that we need to have this information so that we can help those around us, help correct that behavior. I mean, you're going to be sitting across from your niece, Betty, and this coming Christmas or Yule or whatever you're getting together for. And you're going to have an opportunity to talk to Betty. You know, Betty's going to be a teenager, and you're going to ask her about, you're going to have an opportunity to ask her about her thoughts on marriage, wanting a family, what kind of guys is she dating? And you'll say, you know, there's something that you might not have heard. You probably didn't hear, because so much is kept from our young women today so that they end up making bad choices. I'm going to share some advice with you briefly. And then you're going to be able to tell Betty about, she's never going to be able to find a pretty guy that is going to be good to her and is going to end up being the man of her dreams, and she's just going to be used by them. We need to be getting this information to these young women instead of applauding these young ladies saying that they're princesses, and this belief, even if it's just under the surface, they're not actually articulating it. Shauna writes, I want to start off by saying this is my favorite white positive community, and I think a lot of it has to do with the quality of fine ladies and gentlemen that come here. And as a woman, I feel welcome. You are welcome, Shauna. You're a great participant. The men are top-notch here and are always respectable to the ladies, and it really does show. I appreciate that a great deal. I can't say that of all white positive chats and comment sections, and in fact, I have been witness to some that have been very mean-spirited to our women, and maybe it could be with some sound reason. But I, for one, have lived long enough to know that we can sometimes get burned by the opposite sex and say things out of line and regret them later on. I don't know Sydney, but I am interested to know more about where she's coming from, because this is how we can maybe bring some of our young women around. We are living in a very anti-white times, and feminism and MGTOW are cancers to our survival as a people. They are indeed. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I love our men and always have, and I have had bad experiences, as have many, but I don't blame all for the few. Jason, you are spot on in bringing this topic up, because a little constructive criticism never hurts anyone. And I know you mean well by our people, and that means our women as well. Keep up your great work. You are a strong man that brings the best people to the community. Well, God bless you, Shauna. Thank you very much. That's very sweet of you to say. Thank you for that support. It was a splendidly written and obviously a very wise person. Some wise words there, ladies and gentlemen, from Shauna. Let me get a quick drink. I broke out I don't know if you all can actually see, but the water should be changing color because of the light that is underneath of it. Break that out for holiday festivities like today. KD writing here, I would add another important concept to the dating conversation. I never focused that much on looks when I was dating, and I dated both men above and below me on the looks scale. But I was filled with white noir, and lacking self-esteem, I tended to be attracted either to jerks, white and non-white, or to decent men with emotional problems. None of my early relationships worked out, because two unhappy, dysfunctional people cannot make a happy relationship. They cannot. KD, you're so right. So it's not just about looking for a man with equal social capital and paying attention to all the decent men who are available. It's also about becoming a white positive woman with love for yourself and your people. It's about being a woman who is worth creating a family with. Ladies, read Go Free at least 5 times and work on any other issues you may have from your childhood. Then, having gone free, you can go find a good husband. Writes KD. God bless you for that, KD. That's a wonderful testimony. Thank you so much. Very wise words again, just like we had from Shauna. KD goes on to write, I have a shocking number of non-white relatives, but that has actually motivated me further to seek white well-being. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. We absolutely do have the best, not just in the by no means is this the women of the white positive sphere. These are the women who are serving white well-being. The men and women serving white well-being are by far the best. You know how many that have come, heard what we had to say, and then turned around and bolted back out the door as quickly as possible, only to find out that these people are absolute reprobates, scumbags. That is because of the kind of messaging that we are sharing, what we are doing in Going Free, who we really are in our hearts, what we are making happen here in service to white well-being. Listen to what she writes here. My own family members are having non-white children, and I am watching firsthand the erasure of our people. It's not that I don't love my non-white family members because I do love them. But that is irrelevant, as it should be irrelevant to every white person with non-white relatives. I do not see the Western biospirit in these children. To save Western civilization, we must save the white race. P.S. Brilliant. And then she quotes me, we cannot do with a piece of paper what nature or the creator did not do with the biospirit. Precisely. I'm going to read Katie's words again because they are so important for all of us. She is coming from a position of love. She still loves her non-white relatives, but she is not going to let that stop her from serving white well-being and helping others to go free, because she knows that we need Western kind to have Western civilization. My own family members are having non-white children, and I am watching firsthand the erasure of our people. How painful, how poignant is that? It's not that I don't look at what she's struggling with in her heart. You're not alone, KD. So many right now are hearing my voice live or in replay. You are not alone. Yes, your family has been broken this way. Yes, there's absolute hatred for our people. Yes, there's a desire to erase us from civilization. You're not alone. There are others out there just like you. KD is speaking right to your heart right now. It's not that I don't love my non-white family members, because I do love them, but that is irrelevant, and it should be irrelevant to every white person with non-white relatives. I do not see the Western biospirit in these children. To save Western civilization, we must save the white race. The brilliant goes to you, KD. You are a hero among heroes. To be where you are, to be pulled in these different directions, to have this ubiquitous pressure on you, to just embrace white erasure, embrace anti-whiteism, embrace the anti-white narrative. And yet you answer the silver trumpets. You stand against an age that has the power to call you evil when you speak from your heart. I salute you, and we should all salute you. Please, let's get a round of applause for KD. That is a very emotional thing. That is a very trying thing. That is a very difficult place to be. And to come out of that place in the right direction, as resolved as she is truly something magnificent and to be appreciated. So thank you for that. We also have here Gabby Mouse writing, how silly we girls were 50 years ago when we foolishly just wanted some guy to like us, take us out for a hamburger and a movie, make out a little, and ultimately marry the guy. I can tell you that none of the young women I knew back then thought about the guy's money or status or any other stupid shit like this. We just wanted to be with a guy, and we went out of our way to make ourselves physically, mentally attractive to them. These broads are too old already anyway. Any woman who isn't married by the time she is, and she gives an age range there, is probably a loser. Thank you very much, Gabby, for writing me. Grand Celestial Knight writing, thanks, No White Guilt, for addressing the pain our men have when it comes to finding a good woman. This is just one of the many things our people are healing from while going free. Indeed. And goes on, although I do not blame our women to some degree for this goddess complex, given the fact that they were propagandized by the anti-whites. Nevertheless, it is still an issue that our women need to take it upon themselves to resolve. Indeed, it is absolutely 100%. Grand Celestial Knight, thank you very much for your words there. They are indeed, as have all the guys of our people, been infected with anti-whiteism, all of these mean pathogens that are corrupting us, undermining us, and our abilities to serve white well-being. And we need to take that all into consideration. Philosophicat was saying as much when she was on, perhaps it was when she was on Woes, doing his millennial, and perhaps she said as much on Red Ice, Christmas Yule special, saying that we are infected, we are corrupted, we are broken, and we have to appreciate and recognize this fact as we try to work together to become what we were meant to be, to access our true physical, mental, and spiritual potential. And I thank you all for doing that. Let's jump over here to Entropy. And we see some super chats over here. Tipsy McStagger, love the name. Super chatting $14.88, 14 Australian dollars and 88 cents. Thank you so much, my dear friend. I'm considering moving about 30 to 40 minutes from the city. Been looking at prices and could do a straight swap for a 50-acre property with a 3 to 4 bedroom house. I'd like to start homesteading. Thoughts on this? Well, it depends on the city that you're in and your work. A lot of things. If you're asking me in terms of just the cause or your activity within it, if you are in a place where you are otherwise being undermined in your ability to go free personally, and that means treating yourself for your MPs, getting exercise, eating right, creating a better living environment. If all of that is being undermined where you are and you can improve upon that someplace else, then do so. And if that means moving away from the city, now certainly if you are in a city where it is, the complexion is different and you are in danger, certainly in danger if there is any disruption in the supply of electricity, food, water, etc., and you're worried about that, or you're worried about being outed or doxxed or what have you, then also moving to a safer place would be a good idea as well. Be careful about what you're taking on. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do when you decide to homestead, when you decide to start raising crops. Our people in general have forgotten how hard it is to be a farmer. Reach out to one if you're curious, and you'll find out how many hours a day, painful backs, and all the rest that comes along with doing that sort of labor. But it's definitely something to look into and to make a sober decision about. Could be a valuable thing for you, though. So get back to us and let us know about your work, how you are approaching this, what you have discovered, and some other considerations. Thank you very much, Tipsy. Alt Fit, we mentioned $50 over there on YouTube. Edgar Allan Poe is back. I mentioned you just earlier, good sir. $50. Thank you, my dear friend, over here on Entropy. Writing, all I want for Christmas is an organizational entity to serve White Wellbeing. Brother, you're speaking right from my heart. God bless you. Thank you for being here with us in the service to White Wellbeing, and we are making it happen. The community is condensing. It's like the water appearing on the sides of the cool can out in the summer's heat and the humidity. It's coming into being as we speak, even though we don't have the support of these people who would rather give their attention to political nonsense that isn't going to go anywhere. Machiavelli sucks, $1.99, and thank you, Edgar. It's great to see you again. Thank you very much for that super chat. Machiavelli sucks, $1.99. Thank you so very much. Gemazda is a beautiful white woman piano player. Well, I will have to find out who that is at some point. Thank you for letting us know. And thank you for the super chat. A pianist Groiper, $3. Thank you so much. Don't want to sound pathetic, but I'm struggling with, he writes here that he is struggling with addiction to adult material. Please give me some help, Jason, or advice. Absolutely, I can help you. I'm not going to tell you what you should be doing in your private time, your behind closed doors. I'm not one of these people that says that it's 100% this way and not absolutely zero that way or what have you. Addictions are problematic. Addictions to anything are problematic, and one of the important things, most important things I think you can do when it comes to any addiction is to make the decision, and you have to let other folks know. You've just let us know, so you're going to have no problem telling others that you have this addiction, and on this date, you are going to cold turkey, if that's what you're capable of doing. I would recommend that that's what you do. Decide that you are going and make it I'm trying to be careful with the use of words here so that it doesn't all sound like innuendo. Make it a span of time that you know you can achieve. So if you think you can go a week without pornography, then say you are not going to look at pornography for a week, and then make that happen. Don't fail over that week. Once you're able to do a week, then pick a larger time frame. Try to accomplish more. And each time expand it, because this is about, you have this, what you have to understand is when you get an addiction, even to pornography, you develop physical pathways in your brain, and your brain wants to feed the physical pathways. You want to go back to the addictive substance or practice. And so it's not just the substance itself entering your system, but it's the entire practice of it. Getting people off addiction very often involves the process of, say, like crack addicts, actually lighting the crack pipe and then putting it down. So you're going to have to restructure the actual physical structure in your brain. And for some people, it's going to be easier than others. And you should, well, I guess you put it this way, you're going to feel out. You're going to discover whether it's going to be easier or more difficult for you when you do these time frames, when you do these blocks. So try it for a week, and then try for 2 weeks, and then maybe, depending how you feel at 2 weeks, was that easy? If that was easy, you made it happen for a month. The reason why you do it this way is you are rewiring, as I say, the physical makeup of your brain so that you don't need it. That's the problem, is that needing it, that your brain keeps telling you again and again, you've got to do this again. You've got to go back to this well again. Rewire, do it slowly, make a commitment. Each time you say, here's the time frame that I'm going to step away from it, you make a firm commitment. You are resolved. Tell someone else who will know that you have made this commitment, and you don't have to tell them that it's pornography if that embarrasses you. Just say, look, you're having a problem with something, an addiction. You want somebody to know. They're going to keep you honest. Will they do that for you? Are they going to ask you 2 weeks into the month, are you still staying away from whatever it was? So they're going to be keeping an eye on you, keeping you honest. You make that commitment. You go through each of these blocks of time. You make each block of time a little larger, and you are able to forgive yourself when you falter. But you only forgive yourself when you immediately are upset with yourself for failing, and you are all that more willing to get right back at what you resolved to do, which is to give this addiction up. Does that resound with you? You want to be able to forgive yourself because we're fallible. You don't want to be in a place where you make a mistake and then you give up on your goal because you just can't do it. You want to be able to say, I failed at this. I'm pissed off at myself because I failed now. And now I'm going to be that much more committed to getting through this next block of time. And what will happen is that as these blocks of time get larger, you'll discover that you'll have less impetus coming from that mist in your mind. It just won't be coming through to you as often. And then maybe you'll get to a place in the future where if you want to occasionally indulge, then you can do that. But maybe you can't. Maybe you'll discover that if you indulge at all, it will just immediately draw you back into the web. So that is for you. It's a personal journey, a journey of discovering, a journey of discovering as well how resolved you can be, how much you can keep your word. And I wish you the best of luck, and feel free to come back and let us know your progress. You're going free. You're going to have a lot of infections, MPs, mean pathogens. When you're working on this addiction, I suggest you begin working on all of these other MPs that you're suffering with as well. Put your focus on them. Why are you addicted to pornography? Is it because our young women have been propagandized the way they have been, and they're out in the world not looking at you, but looking only at the prettiest guys in the circles? and that you have sank into this swamp of pornography that is ruining you, that will cost money, that is going to cost time, that is going to change the physical makeup of your brain. I believe, I have to look back again, that there are studies that show that it decreases the functional fluidity of the brain, so that in a very real sense, you're lowering your IQ by continually watching pornography. Who is at fault for this? I want you to put the blame where it should be put. That doesn't mean that you don't take the onus upon you to correct where you are. You're an adult. You are ultimately responsible. But I want you to know and to think about that the anti-whites have done this to you, and that you are not going to allow them to victimize you anymore. Every time you turn on that pornography that has become an addiction for you, it is because the anti-whites have victimized you and put you in that seat, have put you in that place. So let that make you mad as hell. Turn off that pornography as if you are slugging the metaphorical anti-white who did this to you. And I hope to hear back from you. Good things, big things. I have all the faith in the world that you are going to put this behind you, and you are going to begin accessing your true physical, mental, and spiritual potential. We're going to see a much better you in the future. Lincoln Hawk, super chatting $2 over on YouTube. Thank you so much, good friend. What do you call a woman between... I don't know if I should read the rest of this. I don't know what you're trying to get at, my friend. But it's good, though. It's funny. All right, let's see. Thank you for the super chat, though. Looks like we're good over here. I want to briefly talk about the coming decade, and I want to get all of your opinions on the coming decade. Red Eagle writes, I want to have a boxing match with you. Okay. A friendly one, though. I've had boxing matches. I've been in the ring. I've never had a friendly one. Also, I find it absurd how you can be okay with Roosh while also hating on Lindsay, who lives the life he promoted for you. I don't know who that is, Lindsay. And you're saying I'm okay with Roosh? I've expressed that I don't know much about him, where he's come from, where he was, and where he is now. But maybe at some point I will look into him and then give a more well-rounded opinion on him. So I've always expressed that I don't know very much about Roosh, and I don't know who Lindsay is at all. Jesse, okay, we got that. Let's move on. Machiavellius sucks. My super chat? Yeah, on a different one than the one I read about the piano player. I spoke about that. Yeah, see, the joke about the goalpost is the kind of, I try not to, though it's pretty difficult, I try not to recite things that can be easily clipped by the anti-whites and then say, oh, look at what he said to our vague brothers and sisters out there. So they won't know that I was reading somebody's super chatted joke. They'll think, oh, that's the kind of comedy he enjoys. Red Eagle, my father has 12 siblings. Wow. And I only have one. Shows you how the demographics have changed. And why didn't you react to the message you read calling our women far right? Oh, you mean, where was that? As far as it being a spectrum, far right? Well, I could correct, help everybody's statement, every single statement that every single person makes, and then about 13 hours later, we'd wrap the stream up. But that would be the reason. So I don't have that kind of time. But Gandalf here says, every time I hear these streams, I feel better. NWG has down pat is that we will need to inspire pathos in our people and passion to wake them up. Absolutely. That is exactly what we are doing. Very well written. Thank you for being here, brother. So let's, old bag says, finish the joke. No, I'm glad that Lincoln finished the joke for everyone. Spartan Warrior Queen, great to see you. And the joke should have been finished, and I'm glad that he did it. Marsha says, Jason, love your sense of humor. Well, thank you for that. I don't want the vagues out there, though, to think that I'm just making fun of women in a crude way. That'll be the only message they hear from me. You know how that works out. That'll be the thing the anti-whites trumpet. So let's talk about the coming decade. I briefly spoke about it very briefly last night, but I want to hear from you all. What do you think is going to happen this coming decade, not just this coming year? And we are going to be talking about briefly this big warning for our women. It's a very important thing that we need to speak about yet again, because yet again, another one of our women was victimized by the anti-whites. And I have made videos on this before. I have spoken about it numerous times. And it just, because of where our women are in their minds, it just keeps happening. Now, it's not to say that is exactly how it happened for this particular woman who reached out to me, but it happens far too often this way. And I've confirmed it a great many times. So let's talk, though, about the coming decade. This coming decade, 2020, is and moving forward, the next 10 years, is going to be a decade of dichotomies. You're not going to see the work that we're doing mitigating or assuaging any of anti-whiteism or anything that the anti-whites are doing. You're not going to see a pushing back. Does that make sense? Things are not going to be slowed down or halted or what have you when it comes to anti-whiteism. Our activities are going to grow parallel to theirs. So this is going to be a decade of stark dichotomies. There is, as I said on Red Ice, there are two storms on our horizon, one of darkness, one of light, and they are both rapidly heading our direction. Now, the darkness is the anti-whiteism that is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to get worse over the next 10 years. We are going to see more speech restrictions. We are going to see more restrictions on our right to self-defense. We are going to see our numbers dwindling in every single one of our states, in every single one of our provinces, every single one of our counties and countries. We're going to see the anti-whites increasing, not just the anti-white elites that know exactly what they're doing and are smart enough to manage this in a way that will easily bring us to our destruction. No, the fanatical anti-whites, the really religious, fanatical fundamentalists that are seeking with all of their being to avenge themselves in their minds. What does the anti-white want most of all? What is the anti-white working toward most of all? That is to inflict harm on you for that sense of victimization, that inferiority that is inspired in them, that sense of being less than, that sense of being inferior, that is inspired in them by us merely being present. That is what the anti-white wants to avenge themselves for. They want to harm us, and they will continue to harm us. They will get into the halls of governance, and they will not have opposition. These parties that otherwise were anti-white, but just not as anti-white, that held the hands a little bit. Maybe they were implicitly white concerned, but they are no longer there in strong enough or large enough numbers in a democracy to hold anything back. That will continue to march forward over the next decade, and we will see the victimization ramp up from year to year to year by the anti-whites. But at the same time, that storm of light is also approaching. We will continue to grow. Our message, this curative contagion, will continue to reach around the globe, and we will grow in parallel as the anti-whites grow. We will grow as they grow, not diminish. They will not be drawn down by our activities. There will not be a pulling back of the things that they do. There will not be these grand repeals that people who work in the political spheres think they're going to be able to achieve some way. Do not look for our successes in how much we mitigate the anti-white scourge. Do not look for them to be stifled. Do not look for their voices to be quelled. Do not look for their power to be reduced over the next 10 years, because you will not find victory in that. Victory is going to be found in our voice. Victory is going to be found in the songs that we then sing as we grow stronger by the year. Victory will be in those dazzling eyes of our youngest children that are born into these homes now, inured, hardened against the anti-whiteism that grows in that darkness around our homes. That is where our victories are to be found, ladies and gentlemen. Don't allow yourself to sink into the depravity, into the black-pilled, into the misery state that so many of our people allow themselves to sink simply because the anti-white power isn't being drawn down. It won't be. This is a runaway train, and you're going to see it crash. All that matters now is that we build our strength, that we come together, that we build this art that we have, that we spread this curative contagion, the dialectics, the lexicon, to as many of our people as we can. And each year that soil will become richer. Each year more people are going to rescind their allegiance from these wayward and misbegotten authorities. Each year more will come to us, and it will be like that hockey stick graph. They will grow and we will grow right beside them. Don't look for the victory in the drawing down of the anti-whites. Look for the victory in the songs and our voices who rise up in contest with their discordant noise, with their cackles and their cries for bloodshed. Only when the harmony of our voices comes together in a grand symphony of music will we then be able to contend with the hell that they have brought from the depths of this earth, from the mires and the sewers of the world. Only then will the light triumph over the darkness. There will be no repeal of their evil. There will be a victory, and it will be ours. That is what the next decade has to offer for us, and you can be a player. God has spoken to you in one way or another. You have been touched by nature, by chance, by the gods, by the God. You have been chosen now to hear those silver trumpets for service to white well-being. Your life is important. Your deeds, your thoughts, your actions. These 10 years are going to decide whether Western kind survives or dies. What role are you going to play? Are you going to rise to answer that divine entity that has called down to you? Are you going to bend your knee to that biospirit and say, what more blood covered and spattered metaphorically in the hardship of this struggle? What more I will gladly serve you? Are you going to stand shoulder to shoulder with the greats who stand now and those whose ghosts stand with us still? Whose names will be said in those days when they look back, the historians of our race, and they say 2020 was when it began? Will it be yours? Will you be remembered? You have a choice. You were given the message. You have been touched. Your life is important. Are you going to do your duty? I will look for you on those front lines, every one of you. And I know I'll see you there. Let's watch Jack White and his magnificent piece that he did. And then we'll come back together and we'll talk more. We'll talk about the warning for our women. We'll talk more about what you expect for the next decade, what you think is going to be happening, whether you think it's going to be anything like I believe or something entirely different. I'm eager to hear your opinions, your views, because you are important. Your life matters. Your thoughts matter. And we will be right back.
Hey, you think about landing this successfully? Last will give me a job as a pilot?
I think they would give you a job doing anything if you could pull this off.
Yeah, right. Nah, I'm a white guy.
I'm a nobody, just a blue-collar guy. A coggy, a clocker, time passing by. Well, I watch the planes come in, head where they're bound. And I look to the sky, but I'm stuck on the ground. Each night I would dream I'd fly like a bird, I'd tumble and soar far from the world with the wind at my back and my Mondays below. I'd wake in the dive of that last barrel roll. She took off like the devil with the sun in my eye, my foot to the metal, and the world passing by. Where the view up here's pretty, and all I can hear sweet nothing whispering into my ear. That day I did wake and flew like a bird. I tumbled and soared far from the herd with the wind at my back and my troubles below. Boys, I'm headed in steep for to finish the road.
Jack White's magnificent piece, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And let's get a big round of applause for Jack and the great work that he did for us by creating that magnificent piece. Let's also make sure that we always pat our artists on the back by buying their pieces when we can purchase them, by giving them a donation when we can give them a donation, by applauding them here like so many are doing, by reaching out to them with a word of kindness, because they need to be appreciated for what they're doing, for helping to build this community in service to white well-being. So a big salute to Jack and the great work that he has done. Phoenix Fire's here. Great to see you. Seaver Hamlin, great to see you. There is no support shaming in service to white well-being. So no one is failing when they as a human being need a pat on the back, they need a thank you, they need $1. You have given them dollars to homeless people who have done nothing other than elicit your pity. Make sure that you support those who are serving white well-being, and I thank you for that. I'm very proud of all of you out there who have done so. So let me see what you all have said, and then we're going to talk about this big warning for our women out there. I need you all to not just hear this message. I need you to help me spread it. We have to stop this from happening. I'll talk about it in a minute. We have to stop it from happening. Let's see what we have over here on gardening. Roy Danton says, next decade, you'll find yourself a beautiful wife. Oh, that's nice. And the decade after that, your children will grow up in the White House. Who does not love Roy Danton? What a magnificent guy. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. Boy, wouldn't that be a world? All right, let's make sure we haven't missed anybody's super chats. And then I'll get to any other statements that folks have made. I will eventually, by the way, there's no stopping what we're doing. I mean, there's just no stopping it. Death or crippling disease, I guess, will stop me. But even in death, if I'm able, trust in this, if I'm able to continue fighting in death, you better know I'll be there. But at some point, I will run for office because it will bring attention to the work that we are doing here in the service of white well-being. If there's a place that if I could win potentially and do some good while in office, then I'll try that. But looking at this from a distance, almost assuredly, it will be a campaign to spread information, spread awareness, which there are a lot of things that go along with that, a lot of opportunities, and we can really help to spread this out to the millions, which we're going to spread this out to the millions of our people. They'll look back on these days where we see however many of us are here. They'll look back on this and they'll say, what a cozy little group that was. Can you believe that all of those heroes lived at the same time? People will say that. Can you believe all those heroes lived at the same time? And they were in those same live chats all at the same time. What an amazing time that must have been. But yeah, that would be that'd be fantastic. Okay, let's see. Looks like we're good on those platforms. Let's check here. All right, we got Lincoln Hawk back again. Jason, what do you call a train loaded with toffee? This is $2. Thank you very much, Lincoln. Comes back with the great answer with $2 more super chat, writing a choo-choo train. I like it. Thank you, brother. That's much better. If the anti-whites clip that out and show that to our people, they'll just think that I'm silly, and that's fine. Tipsy McStagger over here in the question widget over on Entropy. And don't forget, folks, that on Entropy, those are great people who have put together this platform in an effort to provide folks free speech, a bulwark against what the anti-whites are doing. And we thank them for that. Every time you super chat on Entropy, they get a little cut, a cut that is smaller than the cut taken by YouTube. And that helps them to feed themselves or continue with this amazing project. When over here, you can also jump on the questions widget. There you can write questions or comments and you can vote on them. Tipsy McStagger writes, I'm not going to get a chance to speak to my cousin's new blue boyfriend as he can no longer come to our Christmas. He couldn't find anyone to look after his dogs. Can't say I'm disappointed. Actually, you know what, Tipsy, do I have here, Tipsy McStagger, I might have here one of your, I don't know, we'll see, a comment from you. I thought I might have, but perhaps I'm wrong. Well, I guess it's a good thing that he won't be able to make it the bluish boyfriend. So I can't see why, something that I was actually thinking about today. Oh, I don't know if I should even mention. I'll tell you one thing. When I am in the kitchen, I'm making food. One of the things I'll do is I will turn on the TV, random channel, most of the time, and no sound, just movement, because I want the movement, I guess. And I turned on the TV, random channel, and very often, and the reason for doing random channel is that just to see what is the world seeing? What are the vagues, my brothers and sisters out there watching? And it was some movie, made for TV movie, I guess. And the people were, it was children were marching up onto maybe just young teens marching up onto some sort of platform. And I saw them marching up, and I went back to doing what I was doing. And I said inside of my head, I said, I guarantee you that they have posted the white little girls with the non-white little boys on this scene. This is not random. Nothing that takes place on TV or movies or books or whatever is random. It is thought out. So when they were shooting that scene for this made-for-TV movie, they purposefully said, you will stand right there, and you non-white boy will be here, you white little girl will be there. Okay. They do that on purpose. It's not random. And so I look up at the screen, having said that, first row, white little girl between two non-white boys. Back row, the reverse, non-white little boy, two white little girls, sandwiching. Just absolutely so despicable. Absolutely so despicable, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is white erasure. And that is how you should look at it. The promotion of white erasure. This is how you should talk about it with your friends, family, and strangers. This is not an accident when the anti-whites do this. It is not irrelevant. It is not okay. It is not, would it be okay to encourage the erasure of any other race of people? Would it be okay to encourage the erasure of Jewish people or of black people or of Asian people? Hell no. All of your friends, family, and strangers, vagues and anti-whites alike, would object to that. So you just throw that right in their faces when they try to say, oh, come on, you're being a little bit. No, go straight to hell. Because if this were the reverse, would you be okay with it then? And you know they wouldn't. Throw that right into their faces. Absolutely disgusted me. I immediately had to turn the damn thing off. I couldn't even have movement in the background. It's so repulsive. For the promotion of white erasure, when will the day come when seeing that elicits the outrage that genocide should elicit? When will that day come? Good God. When will the day come when we know the names of these bastards that are pairing these people, and we demand from them why they promote white erasure and why they should not be charged for genocide or what have you, why they should not be guilty of this immorality, why society should not object to their behavior? You could not do that to any other group of people. And again, if the twits or the anti-whites or whatever say, oh, well, it's harming the non-white races too, bravo, Sierra. Everybody knows when you wed a white person with a non-white person, you get a vaguely diluted non-white person out of that, with rare exception. You don't get a continuation of the white race. You get a non-white person that looks a little bit more, that looks a little white, is what you get. And that's it. So that is white erasure. I mean, you could rephrase, you could turn it right back around and say to them that, and not only that, but this is just collateral damage. I talked about this the other night. When the non-whites or anti-whites rather say, oh, but non-whites are being, it's just collateral damage. So what if this non-white group or that non-white group gets diluted for a little bit of time with white blood, and then Western kind is gone? Absolutely repulsive. I was furious when I saw that. And that should make you furious. It should fuel you to service for white well-being. None of all of these things that go on, you should never see it and then take your head in your hands like a pathetic imbecile and just sink into your couch thinking there's nothing you can do. No, you see something like that, get pissed off, get online, write on 100 different blogs, pass out 1,000 different leaflets. That's how you use the energy that's stimulated by seeing this promotion of white erasure. You know, and you can also turn it around for your friends, family, and strangers. You can say, okay, well, what if the unions of, let's say, any non-white group, you pick it, and white people resulted in children that looked only like white people, so that the non-white group wasn't represented at all, or just barely, and then they were gone the very next generation. No representation at all. Would you still be okay with it? Would it be okay? Let's say if that were black people that it happened to. Say when black and white people had children, that the children 99.9% of the time came out with almost zero black manifestation. Would you be okay with encouraging black people to reproduce with white people? And of course they would say no. So you call them out then at that moment. You could say, okay, well, you just proved that you're anti-white. And so the real question is, why are you such an immoral bastard, auntie, or whoever it is? Why is it okay to white erase Western kind, but wrong or immoral for every other group of people? Question that should be answered. So let me see, and then we're going to get into this warning for our women out there. TeddyNet News has a bunch of thumbs up. I'm guessing that is and should be for Jack White and his magnificent piece there. TeddyNet says, I still can't donate over on Streamlabs. Well, it seems that some people have a problem with their credit card and Streamlabs, but others have been able to navigate. And so if you are in the live chat right now and you have been able to super chat on Streamlabs, share with TeddyNet News and everybody else present how when you get to the screen where it asks for verification that you click or the whatever it is, oh, you have to have your right zip code or whatever for the billing card. It can't just be the zip code of where you live. That could be different. Underhill says, I love that Jason plays these songs. Thank you very much, friend. Seaver says, I don't know what you did to the sound, but it couldn't be better on YouTube. Well, thank you so much. I don't know what I did either. It was the gods have decided to help out. All right, Jesse says, thank you. Jay Easom says, yes, Jason. Perhaps these were supportive comments for what I was saying about the coming decade. Yeah, John says, go, Jason, go. Thank you so much. Kevin, we're all with you, brother. Thank you very much. I'm glad to see that there are so many heroes with us. Yeah, we absolutely. Look at all of these fantastic people. Some real magnificent heroes that are here tonight. Always with us. Always a pleasure to be serving White Wellbeing with so many wonderful people. Let me make sure over here we're good. I think we are. And we will get rolling on this warning. And what I'd like you all to do, if you have thoughts about the coming decade, and what's going to take place, what you might think. It doesn't have to be covering the whole scope of the entire decade. It can be something a little narrower. You can, if you think the anti-whites are going to do X, you want to share that, share it. And if you want me to see it, tag me. If you think that something is going to happen for us and you want to share that, you want me to see it and to read it, tag me. I want to hear from you all. I know we have a great brain trust here in service to White Wellbeing. Far too often, there are content providers, leaders, so-called leaders, self-appointed leaders, who, even though we have this great brain trust, they ignore all of you. All this talent, all of this intelligence, all of this education. and they ignore you so that they can just share their own thoughts. Is this Ramidis saying I'm always that mad too? I guess talking about how mad that show that was on the TV made. Absolutely disgusting. Also says I always say ethnic cleansing. I think that term freaks out a lot of people. Well, it may. Use it where it's effective. Otherwise, white erasure is extremely effective because of the fact that everybody can see all the things that we care about disappearing. So white erasure is very meaningful for people. You don't have to explain genocide. You don't have to explain any of those things. They immediately get it. And that's one of the things that I've tried to share before with you all from my past, is that I tried to identify things that phraseology, words, arguments that were very easily taken by the audience, because you don't have time. I experimented with it. You don't have to do all the experimenting that I've done over all the years. It's done. I experimented with a great many different ways, and there is no time to try to disabuse your audience of all of these other notions. You just have to get right to the issue and then get away from it so that they can grow from it. If you have to disabuse them of a bunch of things, you're not going to persuade anything. You're not going to persuade a man in the desert to drink a glass of water that way. Tipsy McStagger says that is in reference to a super chat from a couple of weeks ago. You super chatted me on what platform, brother? Tag me with the name of the platform and I will look to see if I missed it. If it was on Entropy, I'll have to look after the show. Radio Valhalla says the purpose of life is to give your descendants a reason to remember and honor you. Exactly. Very well stated. Thank you for that. Brand Danger. Plus, you can't legally be censored if you are a political candidate. Exactly. They have to actually air, if they allow a political somebody running for office, a candidate, to run a commercial, and then I have the money for a commercial, they have to allow me to run it. So I can run a commercial about white well-being, and you better believe I will. White Rider, I've been perusing Tinder, meeting women and attempting to change their path from promiscuity. Really? Wow, that's fascinating. I also encourage young women not to go to college playfully. We must protect our folk. We must indeed. Thank you, White Rider, for doing that. I mean, could you imagine being a woman on Tinder? And we know that was one of the several sites that released data, the dating sites. Tinder was the worst for the obvious reason, but the other ones weren't that far behind. For the obvious reason that people getting on Tinder are, as I understand, just looking for sex, really. Potentially, I guess, a relationship after that, but mostly just sex. And so the spectrum of men that women are actually selecting is tiny on Tinder. They're just said their focus is just on the prettiest guys on the app. And meanwhile, the guys are looking at reaching out to 80% of the ladies that are on Tinder. The women are reaching out to, what is it, somewhere in the teens, or 12% of the men, or something ridiculous. And could you imagine having a guy show up saying, "Get off this app. You need to go free"? That would be great. Well, thank you for that work. You never know when some young woman is going to hear that message, and it's really gonna hit her in a way that it should, and she'll get out of that carousel and get on to a healthy life. Red Eagle says, I believe they'll bring the social credit system. This is, I guess, what you're talking about is happening in China, and use intersectionality to grade us and push whites to the bottom. The sky's the limit when it comes to the anti-whites getting into office. Gandalf says, white people on some level are realizing they're longing for extremely direct and extremely transparent and passionate leadership. We need a Caesar. Well written there. I think I agree that white people are. We're sick of it. We're sick of these word games. It's not what is natural for our people to say one thing and do another, to say one thing and then change the definitions of so many of the words in the one thing to things that nobody would conclude, so that you're still being honest in this lie. I mean, it's just white people don't do this. This is not what's normal for us. I think I had hoped that Trump, and I had said that if he's the real deal, he'll, as soon as he's sworn in, he'll go into the bunker and he won't come out, because there are a great many changes, heroic changes, Andrew Jackson style changes, level changes that need to be made, instead of all of this word games. And yet that's all we get still. So yeah, we do need champions. Honorian, I agree that the next decade will be a continuing escalation. Rome wasn't built in a day, and our movement will continue to grow in the years to come. Amen to that. Well written. Thank you. Okay, we read that. Tipsy says, I think the anti-whites will ramp up their censorship to max. What we've seen this year will have nothing come. Seen this year will, I guess, be nothing come election time. Right. That in that it's going to get so much worse around election time. Indeed. Spencer's Thoughts says this decade will see the continuing improvement and understanding of our people. We need to have a community development format to take advantage of such. That's well spoken. Gandalf says we need in America and in Europe, we will need, as I guess in Oswald Spengler, as Oswald Spengler predicted, that in the winter of the Faustian age, we must have Caesars. Again, underscoring what I read a moment ago. Zero Talon says I guess speaking about Streamlabs, the CAPTCHA is really buggy. I was unable to get it to work on my phone. The familiar alternative is glitch banning, it seems. So did you get it to work on your desktop or laptop or tablet as opposed to your phone? Because you were able to get a super chat through. We need instructions. Will somebody write instructions for how to make it work and what you have to be on, what kind of a device? And then I will post those. Reach out to me, DM, or to one of the mods, and they will make sure to get me that information. I appreciate it. All right, let's talk about this warning to our women. And now, please, ladies and gentlemen, please don't just listen to this. Take it in, absorb it, and then share it. Don't forget it. Talk about it from time to time, because this keeps happening. And the reason it keeps happening is because of what we were talking about last week and what we started off the show today talking about briefly. Many years ago, the first time I saw this happen was when Facebook was still brand new. What the anti-whites will do is they, again, like I said at the beginning, where I was so impassioned about all of these idiots that argued against me 15 years ago, when I was saying we need community, we need to build community, here are my ideas. And they said, no, we need just an endless recitation of facts and data. We need politics or violence or hiding. That's what we need to survive. The anti-white elites know what I've been arguing for a great many years. And me and as I say, one of the people who joined me, Alex, who I won't say his last name, many years ago. and that is community. The anti-white elites know it's community. What do you need to have to be able to build community? You can't just have the men with the women too fearful of participating. There are just as I absolutely reject. And by the way, the same thing holds true for our seniors. We don't label our seniors boomers here. We don't do any of that garbage. And this is nonsense. Dividing us up into these different age groups. It is stupidity in the extreme. We need community. And to have community, that means we need to have our women participate. We need to have our seniors participate. We need to have our young participate. We need everyone to participate. Now, what I was about to say is I totally reject this idea that because these meetings are in the white positive sphere are almost always 100% men, that our women, that white women don't care about Western civilization or their children or the future of our people. Bravo, Sierra. They absolutely care. And you know what? They better care, because the hand that rocks the cradle decides what's going to happen for civilization. So if they're not caring, then something has to happen. But I will tell you this, they do care. They are afraid to come out. They are afraid to come to the meetings. They're afraid to speak in these live chats. They're afraid to start channels. And I'm not talking about these ugly slang terms that are just these nets that are cast broadly for if a woman starts making content and a guy, or who knows what it is, it could be a female anti-white in a basement in, I don't know, some Semitic city, posing as a male, as a white positive male, and then they're slandering her with this thought term. Anybody who uses that garbage, that's just disgusting. You should stand, you should, if the woman is not a merchant, if she's not just a dilettante that has come on the scene to make herself money by repeating what people like myself, Colette and Jared George, everybody else is saying, if she's not one of those, and it should be obvious, don't allow people to talk to these women that way. We need our female content producers, because they're going to bring more of our women. Our women are going to see, look, we're welcomed. We can participate. We're not going to be destroyed by society if we participate. So since we need women to have a community, what the anti-whites do, the anti-white elites, recognizing what I recognized a long time ago, that we need community to cripple us and prevent us from having community, they go after the women that participate, because they know by nature, on average, just as men are taller than women, women are shorter than men on average, women are going to be easier to scare off than our guys. So they target them. It's also a little easier in this respect to target them in this way. And what they do, what they did when Facebook was done, was the biggest time I ever saw it done. But it, as I say, it keeps happening on all of these different platforms, is a guy will show up. You'll believe that it's the guy in the message. And really, these photographs are almost assuredly stolen from different Facebook accounts, stolen from different places. Now, that's not to say that there aren't white men who are anti-white, or white men who are being paid for their photographs or videos of them or something of this nature. That could be happening. But essentially what happens is these men are pretty. They don't show up ugly. That's not how this works. Pretty men will show up, and they will begin talking to these women who think they have a chance with a pretty man. And they'll say, well, there's something special about you. You have a really great personality. They'll get to talking with each other. The woman will say embarrassing things because she believes it's going to be a private conversation forever. She may share embarrassing photographs because she thinks those embarrassing photographs are going to be private forever. And then once the anti-white has acquired that information, as well as identifying information, like where she lives, what her phone number is, what her real name is, these sorts of things, Then the anti-white, and this is an enormous thing that happens and continues to happen. Then the and nobody, I can't believe, and the reason why it's not spoken about is because the victims, this is worse, far worse than rape. How many of the victims of rape never admit to being raped? This is far worse. There should be a name for this because of how widespread it is. And nothing is said about it. I'm like one of the few who bother to mention this and try to warn our women. They then reveal to the lady, by the way, Jane or whatever your name is, that person is, the guy is really an anti-white. And if you continue to support or be white positive or continue in the white positive sphere, continue to espouse these white positive positions, why the anti-white is going to reveal those lewd conversations potentially, those potentially lewd photographs or just private photographs. Nobody wants their, whether they're lewd or not, photographs revealed to the world if they don't want them out there. And your home information. I will put that out on the internet. And this is a funded, concerted effort because it happens the same way again and again and again. They know exactly what they're doing. Then it is a strategy that is employed over and over. So it's not chance. So by the way, we will reveal all of your private information and folks will know where to find you. And then they'll say to the woman, which is a lot less scary than it is for a man, they'll come to your house. They're going to come bang on your door. They're going to come destroy your car. They're going to haunt you. They'll come at work. And then everybody at work will find out. And that's so important for a woman to be accepted, her views to be accepted everywhere she is, far more so than it is a man. There are exceptions, but on the average, far more so for a woman. And then the woman goes dark. We never hear from her again. She doesn't report it. She doesn't tell the community. She just disappears and then never online speaks about anything white positive again. What an absolute disgrace that this is happening. And we are not talking about it more regularly. We are not warning our women more often. Now, see, this doesn't work for our young men in the way that it works for our young women. Our young men, if a beautiful woman, far more attractive than we are as guys, shows up and we're not rich and she's far more beautiful than we are, and she is saying how wonderful we are and how we're something special about us and really likes X, Y, or Z about us, we are immediately aware that something isn't right. She's a sex worker, or that's not the real person, or we just know right away. So they don't use this strategy against our young men. It is entirely focused at our young and women of any age. But there was, what was it? How many months ago was it? We had another slew of women on Instagram, one of whom was even married. And I guess the marriage was not what she wanted it to be, or whatever. She wasn't moral enough, or whatever. Or the husband was a monster. Who knows? But a slew of our women on Instagram ended up having these conversations with pretty men, revealing photos, lewd text messages, all of this, phone numbers, and then the hammer comes down. Get out of the white positive sphere, never participate again, or all of this, and your home address, everything's going to be revealed. So, still happening. Another woman victimized. She doesn't seem like she's the type that is going to be easily intimidated, but I can't say for sure. I don't know. But this is what's happening. This is how they drive our women off, one woman at a time. And let me tell you, I mean, they could have, you can see these, imagine these offices, people being paid a regular salary, I don't know, maybe it's all telecommuting, and who knows, maybe they have 10, maybe they have 20 different accounts of guys. They identify women, and it's all very hush hush. It's all very quiet. It's all very embarrassing. Think about how poisonous this is. It is insidious. So let's talk about it. It's the only way that we're going to be able to put an end to it. Do not fall for this, ladies. If a guy writes you, or if you see a guy and you end up stepping on that landmine and he is better looking than you are, then know that it's not real. Know that this is an anti-white. He's going to tell you, or she even behind the male pictures, is going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, that you're special, something different about you. And then you're going to be had. So let's talk about this regularly, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, maybe we got to make a term for it. Let somebody come up with a term for this that's good, and then we'll stick with it. But we need to be talking about this more often because it is absolutely eviscerating. It is gutting the white positive sphere of our ladies. How many women right now are listening to this live or in replay that have had this happen to them that will never speak up again for the lifelong fear? Never participate again, for the lifelong fear that if the anti-whites who threatened her, that did this to her, that victimized her this way, that if they saw her and noticed her, saw she was participating again, that she would be ruined. How much quieter will she be if she was married when she did this? So let's stand up for our women. Let's throw the shield up. Let's talk about this abuse of white women in the white positive sphere. Let's get a name for it so that we all know what we're talking about, and that we can spread this to the broader white positive sphere and put an end to this injurious, this absolutely insidious victimization of our ladies. And just the last thing I'll say, and I'll look at your thoughts, and then we'll wrap up with a couple more of the thoughts here. I want you to think for a moment. Put yourself in the shoes of these young ladies. Yes, I know that the original error for most of them, I'm not saying for all of them, they're making the original error when they believe the impossible, or I guess it's not totally impossible. I mean, I guess they are very often, unfortunately, getting the attention and into the beds of these very pretty men for a week, a month, a day, an hour, 5 minutes, 6 months, who knows? So I guess when the very pretty guy shows up, they think, well, this is going to be a continuation. Maybe this will be the one that marries me, and he's Mr. Prince Charming, and everything will be perfect, and then I'll have this beauty for the rest of my life. But put yourself in the shoes of one of these women, and here you have this guy shows up. He's very pretty. He's saying these wonderful things that you want to hear. You start having an emotional connection. You have conversations. He encourages conversations that, if were revealed later, would humiliate you. Photographs that, if revealed later, would humiliate you. Private information about where you live. And then suddenly he writes you and says, and writes the young woman, put yourself in that position, writes her and says, by the way, all of this has been fake. I have all of your info. I have your nude photographs. I have these lewd conversations about your sexual proclivities. And I'm going to show the world if you don't disappear. Tell me that wouldn't scare the hell out of you to be in that shape. Tell me how that would feel like rape, I would imagine. That would feel like you had been absolutely just, your entire dignity ripped from your core. Are we going to let this continue to happen? All right, so let's see what everybody has to say. We'll read the final bits here, and then we will sign out. All right, looks like we are good on Ko-fi. Nobody's over there. Let's check Cash App. We're good there. Remedius says, that's exactly the word I was thinking. Probably dignity, right? Coconut is here. Great to see you. Hello to your wonderful husband. Let me jump up to the top, see these comments. All right, we got a bunch of people weighing in. Great to see the participation. Gandalf saying, just being on these streams and seeing some of the amazing women here gives me hope. It gives me hope as well. There's the great Elaine Sabatino, another great woman. I hate the division between the generations, men and women, and faith groups too. Family. Jason is right. Unite the whites. I like that. Thank you so much. Yes, we are not going to be divided anymore. Imminent Rain is here, ladies and gentlemen. Just noticed him. Great to see you, brother. I cannot wait for the next song in the album. Rising Stars here. Red Pill. Great to see you, brother. Iron Will. Remedius says we need to stop pitting ourselves against each other. We all have a role in our community. Precisely. We need to be giving our boomers roles as they start to wake up. And we must give women and the youth roles too. Absolutely. Well written. I'm glad to see that this message of really heartfelt and genuine unity is what will bring us together, and that is what we exhibit here. Zero Talon mentioning that it was on his computer that it was able to work. So not able to work on the phone, super chatting on the familiar alternative, but was able to super chat there on the desktop. All right, let's see if there's any other comments here. Kimberly writes that she is a feminist-hating woman. Well, remember, feminism, just a subset of anti-whiteism. Just a subset. It's all anti-whiteism. Okay, we are good over on entropy. Let's keep rolling. Then, and if somebody comes up with a name for what's happening here, then reach out to me, DM me, and we'll find one. We'll find a good name for this, because this practice, this heinous practice, because it is so. It's sort of like in previous epochs when people started talking about child abuse, and they were like, well, do you know that children are being beaten all over the place? We should probably intervene. and everybody suddenly says, my God, yes, it's happening. There are victims of it. We should intervene here. This is worse. This is worse than the epidemic of rape, because it is specifically undermining our effort to recapture our destiny. Who knows how many white positive women have been driven from the sphere because of these sorts of things. I can tell you, I have heard specifically, I'm going to have to estimate over the years, at least, maybe 100 cases. 100 cases. So if I know of that many cases, or so many so that it feels like over all the years that it's been 100, how many have they actually run off? It's staggering that this is not more widely known. So many times I share this with people and they've never heard of it. And it's simply because these women absolutely are obedient. They are scared to death when they get the message that they have been had. Jewel Citizen wrote on one of the previous threads, from landscape to hellscape, diversity, the gift that keeps on taking. I like that so much, I just wanted to include it. Thank you, brother. A son of Susan wrote, I love your passion and love for our people, Jason. Thank you so much. Wayne writes, I hope all white people around the world go free. It is the only real solution. Anything less will not suffice. I've circled the entire intellectual sphere each time thinking where I ended up was the solution to the injustice I saw white people being subjected to. But each and every time, it was just a facade until now. Thank you very much for that testimony, Wayne. That is extraordinarily valuable coming from a person who has listened to, been so many places in the white positive sphere, listened to so many pleas, so many promises, so many flaccid interpretations and diagnoses, and then projections of what could be done, recommendations and the like, to have seen all of that and come here and say, this is the real deal. Thank you so much for that. Marcus writing, wow, this is great. I can't believe I found such high quality, honest content on YouTube. I'm going to share this video. Thanks. Well, thank you for those words and for sharing the work that we're doing. Tara writing, now this is a question we can all take a look at and learn from. She writes, I was left dumbfounded when I mentioned to a neighbor the slaughter of whites in South Africa. She quickly, flippantly waved my comment away, saying, they've always thought they were better than everyone else. What could I have said? I've had conflict with this neighbor before, and I didn't want to stoke it up again. I don't like her and don't plan on being with her more than I have to. I probably could have said, well, is that a reason to torture and kill them? But I wasn't prepared. You are right about the scolding on having any you're right about the scolding on having any hope on politics. I think we like the drama. We can avoid more risky measures. Well, precisely. Thank you very much, Tara, for that scenario you gave us. Thank you, more importantly, for exercising your newfound abilities of going free, just like we were talking about earlier with Roy and that other gentleman who we'll read on the next show. I wrote back to Tara, and I will share my response here. Tara, thank you so much for your question. The short answer is this. As this woman is a neighbor and you intend to speak with her in the future, you could have said something along the lines, oh, fill in the name, I know you don't mean anything that anti-white and immoral. That would be despicable. These innocent people are being gang raped and tortured to death, even children. If she says that she does not care what happens to them for any reason, I would end the relationship with that person. She will have exhibited such an inhuman hatred for Western kind that there is no remedy. And Tara, right back to me, no white guilt. Thank you so much for your suggestion. Just right. Well, and that's what I will say to you all as well. Should you have such neighbors, colleagues, friends, whatever they are, siblings, mother, father, if you talk with someone and they are this flippant and dismissive about the torture of our people in South Africa, they could not care less. If they dismiss and excuse the torture and white erasure, literal genocide of Western kind in South Africa as deserved because of any reason, there is no use in ever talking to that person again. In fact, I never would speak with them again. That's me. You might have to deal with the person again, and you have to negotiate that however it is most meaningful and practical for you. But if it's me, I'm never speaking to them again, and I'm going to tell them exactly what a piece of shit I think they are. And then that will be the end of the discussion. Then move on to someone else who can hear your message, whom you can help go free. This person obviously anti-white. I would say of this neighbor, Tara, that this is not a vague, just villainy signaling. No sane person is going to hear about such monstrous things going on to any people, to any group of people, much less their own, and then respond by saying, well, they've always thought that they were better than everybody else. So that is someone who is just poison through and through. I would absolutely not have anything more to do with such a person. Now, my suggestion, though, holds true for other scenarios. family members, mother, uncle, son, daughter, whatever it might be, other neighbors, if they say something, if they villainy signal in some way that isn't so obvious that they are anti-white, you can give them morals and values that they did not just exhibit, and that you are putting a line in the sand saying you don't want to go across that line because that makes you a monster. That is a very productive thing. It is very productive also when using with your children. If they have been anti-white, or guilted, white guilted, and you're trying to bring them back, trying to help them go free, it's a very useful way to give them values that they haven't actually exhibited. So you could say, oh, you don't actually mean, you obviously just said that as a throwaway comment. You don't actually mean that it's okay for these people to be raped and tortured to death, or to be white erased, or whatever. This is monstrous what's going on. That would make you a monster. So I know you don't mean that. So and then walk away from that particular part of the conversation into some other conversation where you can help them go free. If they say, oh, no, I really am that anti-white, I really am delighted that that's happening, then you just say, okay, that conversation is over. We're never talking again. That is an extremely ill person that would be supportive for any reason of people suffering in this way. So thank you, Tar, for that opportunity to answer that question. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have similar situations, and you want me to address them on a live stream, you can reach out on the thread. Make it either a paragraph or a couple of small paragraphs. Don't write like 18 paragraphs. I'm too busy for that. But be pithy. Work on your strength of brevity. That's where the wit comes from. And I will talk about it on the stream. I'll answer your question, and we can benefit all of us by doing so. So thank you for that. Rock Dad writes, I watched back-to-back episodes of the show Criminal Minds, which is about FBI agents taking down criminal psychopaths and child molesters. They must have used the phrase white male while referring to the suspects at least 40 times. In one episode where the suspect was a black male, never once did they use the phrase black male. And of course, the black male suspect was actually innocent. And it was a white male who was the true villain. The anti-white propaganda is so obvious. Even those who do not practice white positivity would have been able to pick up on this. Precisely, Rock Dad. Thank you for sharing that. And that is the exact kind of thing that is happening in greater regularity and increasingly salient by the minute. So that, yes, our vagues out there, the white vagues out there, are able to see it. And they're scratching their head saying, what in the hell is going on? Why is there no force opposing this? And they will get on their phones and they will begin searching the web, and they will land with us, and we will change their lives. So thank you for that. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you're sharing this kind of information, when you share it with, especially with your children who have been, if they're at public school or at private school and they're being taught how evil you are and the like, make sure you point out that none of that is accidental. That there are teams of people that are deciding that white male will be said 40 times, that the criminals will always be white men, that here where the black man was the suspect, the white people were wrongly suspicious of him. And then remember what happens. Read, go free. Be able to tell your children, be able to tell your friends and family about how the subconscious mind works, how the subconscious mind is unable to discern fact from fiction, how the subconscious mind is being trained that just as the black man was wrongly suspected, and that those white people should feel white guilted and they should feel ashamed of feeling this way about him, that in the real world, that you should feel white guilted and ashamed about ever suspecting a non-white person of ill doing. And if you suspect them of some sort of wrongdoing somewhere, then you are just as wrong, evil, cowardice, racist, all of the anti-white slurs in the book as that character was, as ugly, as worthy of being kicked out of society. So know these things so that you can share this information, and you read it and then you put it into practice. You do like these wonderful people are doing in our community and serving white well-being. They're going out into the world. They're having these conversations. They're having them online. They're practicing the lexicon and the dialectics, and they're getting better day by day by day. Fred writes, the Nobel Prizes were awarded yesterday, and a very anti-white Polish writer got the literature prize. She has openly stated, if not in the ceremony, then at least a few days before, that the one who controls the language and the discourse has the power. Of course, it was said, implying that us heretics shouldn't be given the power of the language. But I interpreted it as a blatant, we know that you know what we're doing to the West, and we're going to rub it in your faces in front of the clueless normies. Thank you very much for sharing that. Indeed, they do know. They do know that language is thought, that we can only think in words, and that we cannot win in a world of their words and therefore their thoughts. One of these days, people are going to look back and they're going to say, how in the hell did it take so long before people finally fought back in the only way that you can fight back? By getting out of the anti-white narrative and writing our own story. I'm still waiting for the apologies from all of those terribly sophisticated people who told me year after year after year after year that you can only use their words or nobody will think you're legitimate. Well, look how far you've gotten only using their words. The only reason anything is getting better for them is not because of their methods, but because the soil's getting richer. We have grown 100 times faster by doing things the smart way. Listen to this, sad. We're going to wrap this up. Two more. I'll read two more, and then we'll see what you all to say, see if there are any super chats, and we're going to call it a night. Thank you all for being here to Go Free. Listen to how painful this is. And the following verbiage from a different person, though, fits right into this. I had to share this here. This is absolutely agonizing. And I want you all to really reflect on it. Anti-Ethnic Cleansing wrote this. I spoke I guess it was the last Going Free, about all of those people who gave money to this Support Africa, Africa Aid, these big concerts. And they weren't just even one-time donations, of course. These were recurring billings that they got on, and that they felt because they got on it. The TV told them they were virtuous for doing it. The musicians told them they were virtuous for doing it. And they felt that they had some unearned virtue. They felt virtuous for doing it. I mean, at least they were paying their own money rather than to vote me to pay my money to these things that I don't want. But they paid. I talked about how they put all this money to Africa, which absolutely increased the size of the populations in Africa exponentially. And of course, they couldn't take care of themselves. So they all have flooded into the West as a consequence. This person writes, Anti-Ethnic Cleansing writes, I was one of those people that gave money. Ugh. In the 1980s, I had bought the, quote, We Are the World vinyl single. And then in the 90s, I had a certain amount of money automatically deducted from my bank account every month and sent to Africa, just because a TV commercial manipulated my emotions and initiated the white guilt factor. The only reason I didn't do it longer was because I got laid off in 2003. So I stopped the charity deductions. It's so embarrassing how easy, and let me just stop there. A big salute. When we have gone wrong, to be able to be a stand-up man and woman and say, I was bamboozled. I did wrong. I ended up going down this anti-white path and harmed our people and therefore myself. To be able to stand up and do that, you absolutely deserve a salute for that. So thank you, Anti-Ethnic Cleansing, for being able to come full circle. This is a movement of redemption, and we will gladly welcome you back into the fold for our people and the service to white well-being. It's so embarrassing how easily manipulated we were. He writes, let me make sure I didn't miss a sentence here. No, I got it. So it's so embarrassing how easily manipulated we were. F these commies to hell. Anti-whites. Commies are a subset of the superset. I feel sick that I helped fund my own current predicament. Takes a lot of intelligence and courage there, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to own up to the fact that his deeds resulted in our suffering and therefore his suffering. Very honorable thing to do. I feel sick that I helped to fund my own current predicament. I became disabled in 2004, and due to overpopulation from mass immigration, I cannot afford my rent and food anymore because they have raised the costs so much here in California within the last few years. Within the next few months, I seriously might have to move back into my childhood home with my mother. FFS, as a 44-year-old grown adult, I have to give up my independence. As I say, I salute you. It takes a lot of courage to come full circle. We welcome you back. We welcome you understanding that the harm you caused to Western kind was something that was egregious, that you feel guilt over, as we should feel guilt over when we have done things to harm our people, that you acknowledge that your own misery now, your own suffering is a result of the suffering that you inflicted on our people. It takes a lot of courage, intelligence, and integrity to be able to do this. I salute you, and I look forward to you doing great things for white well-being in the future. I have very little doubt that you are not going to make amends for the harm that you believe that you inflicted. Thank you for this message. And then, fitting perfectly with this message from Shamdi, writing California's 1994 Proposition 187, which was the proposition that was going to deny welfare, all kinds of social services to illegal people who were here illegally. Of course, we're not really allowed to say that. There was never anybody here illegally. The YouTube is listening, of course. But that was what Proposition 187 was. And Shamdi writes, proposition overwhelmingly approved by voters. That's true. And then blocked by two lib judges, anti-white judges, was our first modern death knell. Exactly. I knew back then when the judges had the power to do this and they weren't prosecuted, they weren't brought up on charges for treason to the country, that was it. They already they had control of the judiciary. They were rapidly gaining control of the democracy by way of the most, I guess, how would our one guy call featherless bipeds, having the most featherless bipeds that could cast votes, that they would just vote everything away. So yes, indeed, that was a sign that the recapturing of our destiny is not going to be a recapturing by way of these structures. We need new systems if we are going to survive. And this is the system that is going to save us. Let me see if I have anything else here. Want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Seth, super chatting over here on Entropy. $10. Brother, I cannot thank you enough for all you have done. I'm a young man with a love and fervor for our people, same as you. But do you truly think we can turn the tides of race mixing in our favor? Well, first of all, thank you very much, Seth, for being here. Thank you very much for the super chat and for the question. The biological white erasure is not as bad as it seems. It's bad that it's happening, but it's not as bad as it seems. It is everywhere in media. It is not nearly as widespread in reality. There are areas in the country where it is far more predominant. And if you live in one of those areas, then you're going to think, my God, the end of Western kind is tomorrow. It is true. There are a couple of things of data points that also need to be teased out of the data about who's actually reproducing and who is just having sex and marrying, not producing children, these sort of things. But we can absolutely, without question, recapture our destiny. Without question. We just have to stay on this course, going free, help spreading this curative contagion, and we will recapture our destiny. We are bringing the best of the white positive sphere, and we will, in short order, bring the best of the white race to what we are doing here, and there'll be no stopping us then. That is a guarantee. So when it comes to this white erasure, biological white erasure, you need to talk about it in those terms. If you have relatives that are doing this or friends that are doing this, talk about it in terms of white erasure. When you are trying to help someone go free and you see it on the TV, in a magazine, you see it in the grocery store, walking down the aisle toward you, talk about it as something that is absolutely tragic, that I cannot believe this white erasure again. Do not refer to these people in some gross way, in some, boorish way that's going to turn off your. Why would you do that? Why would you say that about these people? The white person in that relationship is not certainly, there's always room for people falling in love, but is almost certainly doing everything they can to escape their race, to escape our people, because of the MPs that the person is infected with. So it's tragic to witness that sort of thing. So if you can help the people around you, if you can help folks go free that way, do so by that method. Ursa Major, super chatting $5 over on YouTube. White fishing. Oh, a term for that's pretty good. White fishing. That is a pretty good term for this practice of duping our young women into believing, or women of any age, duping our women into believing that a man is attracted in them, usually pretty man, and then he turns around and reveals that he's actually an anti-white or not the person in the pictures at all. White fishing. That's pretty good. And then tells the woman, go away for good, or I'm revealing all of this. All right, well, we'll think about that one. Lincoln Hawk, $5 on YouTube. What's your favorite football team? I'm a Blackburn Rovers fan. They're in the championship, but they're doing pretty well at the moment. 4 wins out of 4, Lincoln Hawk writes. Football. Well, I guess you're talking about what here is soccer. I don't watch any sports. I was a star athlete. I ran if you know sports, then maybe you know about in American football, the 40-yard dash. I ran a 4.4-second 40-yard dash consistently. You can look up online what NFL receivers and defensive backs, what speed they run, and you'll see that is the same speed as most of them. Some of them are a little faster. Vertical leap right up there as well. And played college football, could have played minor league professional baseball. I don't watch any sports because those are games. Now, if you want to watch a sport, don't become one of these fanatics. Moderation, enjoy it in moderation, and then give your actual life to the service to white well-being. Don't invest who you are and the value of your being in whether or not a team is winning or losing. It's the saddest thing in the world to see all of these pathetic white men out there who either walk with their head high and their chest out if a bunch of non-whites on a field that wear a certain uniform won a game. And then if they don't win the game, then they walk with their shoulders slumped and their head down while the civilization burns around us. Pathetic. Guys, if you're doing that, or you know guys that are doing that, they're pathetic. You look pathetic. Come out of that state and be a hero for our people. John Smith, super chatting $10 on YouTube. The term catfishing more or less describes what you were describing earlier, the intimidation of our women online. However, I think we should call it gefilte fishing. Given the perpetrators. Okay. Well, John, good. Thank you for that super chat and the laugh, my friend. All right. Looks like we got everybody on YouTube and StreamYard. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I'll make sure to get to you next time. Hey, we have the great Quebec. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. The great Quebec, I'm sure been watching though. $20 over here on the Familiar Alternative. Was able to make it work where others have had troubles. Make sure when you try to use the Familiar Alternative that you use it on a desktop. It might be able to work, and perhaps we'll hear from people like Zero Talon on a pad or a laptop, but certainly on a desktop, I believe. The phone seems to be giving people some problems. Quebec super chatting $20, saying a lot with those $20. Thank you, my dear friend, and it's great to see you again. Always good to see heroes come together again on this battlefield of ideas. And we will continue to wage these battles, and we will continue to win, ladies and gentlemen. Real quickly, I'll take a look at these other platforms, make sure we're clean, and I will see what you all had to say. I'm sure I see Underhill said that he's sure that I would be a fan of that team. Well, if Underhill says so, then it would be so. So I give my support, full support. I hope they win. All right, looks like we're good there and here and right there. Big and Small says, you're running catless, the Neon. Well, maybe. We'll see how long that vehicle sticks around. It is aged. Unapologetic Pagan. 5 years ago, I was a volunteer to fight for gay marriage in my state. I got red pilled during the campaign. Various plans. Now a man was sentenced to 15 years for desecrating a gay flag. Precisely. That's a quick way to wake up. Thank you for stepping up here in the live chat. There is a lot you can do now to advocate for the true underdogs in Western civilization, the only people that can be legally discriminated against, and that is Western kind. So let's get busy. We have so many white people have had so many amazing successes, have done so many miraculous things for non-white groups and other different groups within society, that there is no reason now that they cannot answer the call to the true victims of civilization, the people of Western civilization, the people that if we cease to be a force in our own civilization, there won't be a Western civilization anymore. Today, they can, this anti-whiteism is charging this guy. I don't know what was going on with this guy. Very, very briefly saw the news, tore this rainbow flag down, set it on fire, and they gave him 15 years or 14 years or whatever it was in prison for that. I mean, this has gone completely insane. Obviously, it tells you exactly who is in charge, and it's not the white family, the white man, the white woman, the white children that compose the nucleus of what is Western civilization that gives us all that we care about. There'll be no law structure for that to take place in the future if we continue down this anti-white dystopian road. Real crimes that will deserve 14, 15 years in prison won't be able to be prosecuted because the system will be so broken, so corrupt. There'll be no law and order anymore. There'll be no nursery in which we can indulge these idiocies that we indulge in Western civilization. We need to step in now. I want these white people that have been heroes for dolphins. I love dolphins, for homosexuals, for all of these different groups, for Africa, for all of the non-white people in Africa, for all of these different groups. I want them to stand up now with twice the vigor that they had for these other groups. If not for your own, then who? If not for the biospirit that gave life to you and that has given blood and energy and spirit to this civilization, then for what? Now is the time. While we have the time. This will be the decade, 2020, and the next 10 years is going to be the decade that decides whether we survive or not. And if we don't survive, Western civilization doesn't survive. And if Western civilization doesn't survive, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of the world? What do you think is going to happen to the flora and fauna of the rest of the world when the Chinas are industrialized, when the Indias are industrialized, when the Latin Americas are industrialized? What holds their hands back? What little we are able to hold their hands back? What will come of the world when malefactors hold the button on the nuclear weapons that we invented? Christ Almighty, step up now before it's the end of the world, because it's the end of us. All right, I see Norm Miller is here. JK160. Bob is here. Great to see you. We're wrapping up now. I'm checking for any final statements or questions on the live chat on No White Guilt channel. And we will, looks like we have everybody. One more quick check of the, wait. Remedius, much love to you, Jason, and what you do. I pray you are able to marry a woman worthy of your virtue and have many, many children. You will be a great father. Well, that's most kind of you. I pray that all of our young men, all of our men are out there, are able to find women on their level of looks, and that they are able to find people that they get along with, that their personalities mesh, that they will harmonize with, so that they can have beautiful lives together and raise beautiful families together. I'm afraid, my friend, I thank you so much for your prayer. With the state of things, it's going to be difficult, my friend. White Rider, the majority of couples in Seattle are mixed race, particularly in Capitol Hill, where the hipsters live. White men choose Chinese women. Women choose brown men who work in tech. Yep, that is a shame. I have heard that about that area. Many of those people, or all of them are anti-white. So just know that while it is a tragedy, these are people who absolutely hate the white race. And so they are breeding themselves out of existence. It is a tragedy that they have reached such a state, and we should talk about it as such. We should talk about it as the white erasure that it is, and we should wake people up and help them go free by pointing to this absolute tragedy, and a thing that we will look back upon as a horrific blight on civilization, a people that wanted to cut themselves out of their own flesh because they had been reared on a poison, a forked tongue poison, that they were the most evil people in the history of the world, that something was innately wrong and mysteriously evil about them, so much so that they sought any way possible to escape who they were and to destroy the power, glory, and beauty of the people whence they came. All right, looks like we have it. Seth says, thank you for being so responsive. You're most welcome, my friend. That's what we're here for. We're here to help each other go free. And we're going to be wrapping up tonight. It was another fantastic time going free. Is our good friend Poseidon on? Does anybody know? If he is, let's head on over to Poseidon and make sure that he gets all of the viewers he possibly can get. Looks like entropy is good too. I'm going to be writing down whitefishing as a possible name for this awful practice that we were discussing here today, that is insidiously undermining our movement in the service of white well-being. Oh, you know what I got to do? I need to open the chest over on D Live. So, okay. If you are not on D Live, you might want to think about getting an account. You don't have to use it initially, but follow me there. Seaver, I think, has posted a couple of times that, oh no, Poseidon says he's here. Well, great to see you, brother. Are you streaming tonight? And if so, when? When can we find you? Make sure that you go on over to D Live, you create an account. You don't have to watch us there, but you want to have that platform or maybe one of the others so that when YouTube decides to obliterate us, it'll happen at some point. You will be able to find us without a hiccup. You can also, of course, follow us on theafterparty.tv, the website I share with Jared George. And I'm sure that Seaver the Achiever, a great mod, will be active, or has been active rather, putting links like that up, as well as probably some of the other great mods that we have in the chat. A big thank you to Spartan Warrior Queen, Phoenix Fire, and Seaver Hamlin. I think they were our moderators today. So thank you all for the moderation, keeping the chat productive. And it looks like Mamir's Bruner is live. All right, well, Poseidon is here. Poseidon says he's resting tonight. He'll stream tomorrow or Tuesday. All right, brother. Well, tomorrow or Tuesday, look for Poseidon. Tonight, we will all head over to Mamir's Bruner, and let's let him know that we're all leaving going free and coming en masse to his stream to show him much love in the white positive sphere. Machiavelli sucks. $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. We should form a Delta team that finds fishers. Well, if somebody knows how to do that, I think the best thing we should do, though, is find a way to spread this message about whether we end up calling it white fishing or whatever it is, that we spread it far and wide so that our women don't continue to be subjected to this horrific, absolutely horrifically embarrassing scenarios of then knowing, on top, I forgot to say, as we sign out here, ladies and gentlemen, imagine having thought that you were building something with someone real, and you had shared with them some compromising photographs, and then you find out that these are actually anti-whites, actually are victimizers. Imagine how humiliating that would be, that they have your potentially nude photographs and are laughing about you or selling them off to some pornographic website owned by some anti-white. What a horrible thing to have happen to a person, especially a woman in the white positive sphere. So let's talk about this. Let's spread it and make sure it never happens again, ladies and gentlemen. And I look forward to going free with you again next time when we are together. I love you all.